Excellencies, distinguished guests, Namaskar and Salam. I'm Sami Kapoor and it's my privilege to welcome you to News9 Global Summit UAE edition here in Abu Dhabi, a city that embodies ambition, transformation and the spirit of global collaboration. As we approach Emirati Women's Day, let us live the spirit of empowerment and inclusivity, making she not just a story, but the story of our times. And this event will witness the making of a movement. And we are here along with you to get the ball rolling and push for affirmative actions. Together, let's draft the SHEconomy Agenda. And that's our theme this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We celebrate women who are no longer participants, but change makers, driving innovation, shaping industries, and redefining growth from grassroots to boardrooms. But before we commence the proceedings of the evening, I'd like to take a minute here to thank those who made it as much as their mission as ours to create a platform to tell the stories of women change makers. The News9 Global Summit SHEconomy Agenda is powered by La Mer Capital, co-powered by Shunya.ai industry partners, FICCI, Diaspora partner, IPF, and alumni partner, Harvard Business School Club of GCC. Our gifting partner for the SHEStar Awards is Tola and Carat Jewelers in Delhi, specializing in exquisite statement gold for both men and women. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this summit is more than a gathering. It's a celebration of women and their achievements. She is no longer a side story. She is the growth story of our times. And through the next few hours, you will hear inspiring stories of challenges and determination to conquer their dreams in an industry that has long been dominated by men. So now let's set the agenda as I invite our first speaker on the stage. He is the visionary who has redefined the Indian media landscape by fusing sharp business insight with disruptive innovation. As the managing director and CEO of a TV9 Network, he has built India's largest news network and, more importantly, a platform of ideas that resonate globally. The News9 Global Summit is his brainchild, a space where world leaders, change makers, and innovators converge to shape the conversation of tomorrow. From Duologue, a fearless format that explores ideas beyond headlines, to tonight's SHEconomy Agenda, his mission has always been to spotlight voices that shape our times. Please welcome the architect of the News9 Global Summit, the MD and CEO of TV9 Network, Mr. Barun Das, to deliver the opening address.
Thank you very much. When Indra Nui, we all know about her, former CEO and president of PepsiCo, when she got elevated to the post of president in her company, she was very excited. She rushed back home to share the news with her family. As she reached home, her mother, instead of celebrating, told her that the milkman didn't arrive this morning. You were supposed to bring milk. Where's the milk? And she said, but you know, I just became the president. We're supposed to celebrate. Her mother said that leave your crown in the garage before you come in. When you are inside this house, you're a mother, you're a wife, and you're a daughter. Does this ring a bell to the women present in this room? I think we all know the answer. It is in this context that we have gathered here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar, Salam Alaikum. The Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi, Srimati Rekha Gupta ji, His Excellency Sanjay Sudhir, India's Ambassador to the UAE, Mrs. Sudhir, thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us, the other dignitaries, guests, friends with us this evening. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the SHEconomy Agenda, a mini summit that we are hosting this evening under the aegis of TV9 Network's News9 Global Summit. Many of you may be aware that in June this year, we hosted a very successful bilateral summit that was received with great enthusiasm by leaders and members of both the countries. Today, with this mini summit, we turn our spotlight on what I believe are the real stars of our lives, in fact, of humanity itself, the women. I have absolutely no intention of pontificating on women empowerment because I don't believe that's what it needs. So let me explain what I mean. Way back in 1997, when Kalpana Chawla was selected for the NASA's astronaut program and recognized globally as the first Indian woman in space. First Indian woman. She was often asked how she felt about it. Her answer, I was not chosen because I was a woman, nor an Indian. I was chosen because I was the best candidate for the mission. Or if you talk about Mary Berra, the first woman CEO of General Motors, an industry long considered a man's world. She faced similar question and her reply was identical. I would rather be known as the best CEO of General Motors than the first woman CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the essence of women empowerment. Empowerment isn't about women being equal to men. Empowerment is all about equity. Our societies have come far. 1,000 years ago, during the Stone Age, our survival depended on physical strength. Today, the society is driven by intellectual superiority, which includes vision, knowledge, adaptability, resilience, empathy, etc., etc. We have no reason to believe that men possess these qualities in greater proportion. Then why is it that we still have mostly men in leadership positions across all walks of our lives? We have covered some ground. Women have shattered many glass ceilings, but a lot more remains to be done. Equity, which is about in the heart of empowerment, is not a favor. It is a necessity for a just, a progressive, and a dynamic world. We often call the women the better half in the context of marriage. But if you look around, aren't women the better half in every aspect of our society? Women-led businesses have proven resilient in turbulent time. Women leaders are often the steady hands guiding institutions and communities through crisis. When women rise, the whole society rises with them. And let me say this clearly, that women are the better half, not because of men. They are the better half despite men. When women rise, humanity rises with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Das, for that very inspiring speech. But as far as the keynote speakers this evening is concerned, we are also privileged that as far as ministerial keynote is concerned, we have someone who has been a leader who embodies resilience, conviction, and the spirit of women-led transformation. From the early days as the fiery student activist and the president of Delhi University, to now a distinguished career in public service, she has consistently broken barriers and redefined what leadership looks like. In February this year, she made history as only the third ever woman to become the chief minister of the national capital, Delhi, proving once again that women are not just participants in governance, but they are also the architects of a new political and economic order. Her leadership has been marked by bold reforms, people-first policies, and an unwavering focus on inclusivity. values that align perfectly with the theme of tonight's summit, the SHEconomy Agenda. But unfortunately, Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta couldn't be with us here today, but she has been kind enough to send across a welcome address and her best wishes to the summit. Let's take a look.
नमस्कार। TV9 नेटवर्क के द्वारा अबू धाबी UAE में जो कार्यक्रम महिला सम्मान में हो रहा है, महिला सम्मेलन, जहां पे बहुत सारी महिला अचीवर पार्टिसिपेट करने वाली हैं, दिल की गहराई से वरुण दास जी को और उनकी पूरी टीम को बधाई, जिन्होंने महिलाओं के सम्मान में इतना सुंदर आयोजन किया। मैं आप सभी को बहुत ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं देती हूं और इसी प्रकार समाज में महिलाओं का नाम हो और देश में सम्मान हो। थैंक यू।
Now, as far as our next speaker this evening is concerned, he is a seasoned diplomat and a trusted bridge between India and the world. As India's ambassador to the UAE, he has been instrumental in a deepening India-UAE partnership across trade, investment, energy, and technology. Under his watch, the bilateral relationship has blossomed into one of India's most strategic and dynamic, touching not just boardrooms, but also lives of people through cultural exchanges and people-to-people ties. At a summit that celebrates a women-led growth, his presence underlines the role of diplomacy in enabling inclusive global collaboration. Please welcome Ambassador Sanjay Sudhir.
Dignitaries, distinguished guests, esteemed organizers from TV9, community leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Let me first of all acknowledge the initiative of TV9 to host this event within a few months of a very successful summit hosted in Delhi, in Dubai. That was such an interesting, I was myself a part of that. It drew such a broad cross-spectrum of speakers who delved into diverse range of issues concerning not only the India-UAE relations, but so many issues of contemporary relevance to all of us. For me, it's truly a privilege and an honor to be present here today at this Women Development and Empowerment Summit, especially as it coincides with the celebration of UAE's Women's Day tomorrow. This occasion is not just a symbolic recognition of women's achievements, it's also a call to action for building a more inclusive and equitable future. The UAE has chosen 28th August as UAE Women's Day to mark the anniversary of the founding of the General Women's Union by Her Highness Sheikha Fatima bint Mubarak, the mother of the nation. This day embodies her vision that the empowerment of women is central to the empowerment of society. Today, women in the UAE are pilots and astronauts, cabinet ministers and CEOs, doctors and diplomats, and in our midst, we also have an Emirati woman who has scaled the heights of Mount Everest. As we celebrate this day here in the UAE, I'm reminded that both India and the UAE share a civilizational ethos that honors the role of women. In India, our scriptures proclaim, where women are honored, divinity blossoms. Our freedom struggle was shaped not only by leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, but also women such as Sarojini Naidu, Kasturba Gandhi, Madam Kama, and countless unsung heroines who fought with courage. Similarly, the UAE has demonstrated through policy, vision, and action that women are equal partners in the national development. From reserving half the seats in the Federal National Council for women, to ensuring their representation in the highest offices of the government, this nation is walking the talk on gender parity. This shared belief gives a strong foundation to our India-UAE partnership, not only in trade and technology, but also in ethos and in values. Empowerment of women is not a matter of charity, it's a matter of justice, it's a matter of economics and progress. Let me underline 3 reasons why women's empowerment is so indispensable. First of all, it's a moral imperative because every human being deserves dignity, equality, and opportunity. Denying women their rightful place means denying half of humanity. It's also an economic imperative. According to global studies, if women participated equally in the economy, world GDP could actually rise by nearly 28 trillion by 2025. Empowering women is therefore not just socially correct, it's also economically smart. It's also a societal imperative. Empowered women lead to empowered families, communities, and nations. When a woman is educated, her children are more likely to be educated. When a woman works, this lifts the entire household out of poverty in many cases. India has made significant strides in the recent past. Our parliament recently passed the Women's Reservation Bill, reserving 1/3 seats in legislature for women. India has produced women presidents, including our current president, prime ministers, chief ministers, one of you just saw and heard, defense ministers, and CEOs of global companies. The one was mentioned by Barunda a short while back. In fields like space research, India's Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan missions were led by women scientists, and that is a matter of great pride for the country. In entrepreneurship, India now has women unicorn founders leading global startups. Yet, we also recognize that much work remains, from improving workforce participation to addressing social barriers. But the direction is clear. Women's empowerment is central to India's growth story. The UAE too has an inspiring story to tell to all of us. Her Excellency Rimal Hashmi, the Minister of State for International Cooperation, has played a very pivotal role in delivering this highly successful Dubai Expo 2020. Her Excellency Sara Al-Amiri, for instance, the Minister of State for Public Education and Advanced Technology, has been a leading voice in the US Mars missions. On a regular basis, I work very closely with ministers and excellencies such as Noor Al-Kabi, the Minister of State in the Foreign Ministry, Sara Musallam, the chairperson of Abu Dhabi Education and Knowledge, Dina Al-Mukarrab, the chairperson of Tamkeen, and so many others. It's heartening that women constitute over 66% of public sector employees, with about 30% in leadership roles. Emirati women are now breaking frontiers in defense, aviation, and energy. This is a nation that has chosen to place women at its center in its vision for the next 50 years. Women are also at the heart of the India-UAE partnership. As India and UAE deepen ties through the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement or the high-level task force on investments and cultural exchanges, there's also tremendous scope to draw in more and more women to the heart of this partnership. Women entrepreneurs from India and the UAE can probably collaborate in fields like fintech, health tech, and green technology. Diaspora women, many of whom are present here in this room, have been actually leading examples of what women can do in a society in diaspora and actually lead by being role models for others. Let us also remember that empowerment of women is not just an issue of one country. It's a global challenge. Around the world, women still face wage gaps, underrepresentation, and gender-based violence. The United Nations Sustainability Development Goal 5 is all about achieving gender equality. But to achieve it, governments alone cannot act. Media, civil society, academia, businesses, and each one of us has a role to play. That is why a platform like this, organized by TV9, is so important, because media has a power to shape narratives, challenge stereotypes, and also to inspire millions. Let me conclude with the words of Rabindranath Tagore, India's Nobel laureate, who said, "The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our life in harmony with all of existence." Women empowerment is about creating that harmony in families, in society, and also between nations. On this UAE Women's Day, let us reaffirm our collective resolve that women will not only participate but lead, not only contribute but shape, not only dream but also achieve. I once again thank TV9 for this timely and significant initiative, and I congratulate all the remarkable women whose journeys inspire us today. Together, let's build a future where empowerment is not just an aspiration, but a lived reality for every woman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Sudhir. And now, of course, for our next session, which is a first fireside chat, we have someone who has carved a niche for herself in one of the most challenging industries. We have with us in the house actor Richa Chadda. She needs no introduction, but our friends from UAE who may not be as big Bollywood buffs, Richa is an actor par excellence. From essaying the role of Nagma Khatun, the foul-mouthed wife of gangster in the cult two-part film Gangs of Wasipur, to playing the character of a sassy gangster herself as Bholi Punjaban in Fukre, and most recently, she played the demure Lajjo in Hira Mandi. The sheer range of characters played by her has cemented her place amongst the most versatile actors of our times. Here's more. Let's take a look at her journey thus far. I invite actor Richa Chadda on stage to join Sudha Sudanand, our colleague and consulting editor, for a fireside chat over here for the News9 Global Summit, SHEconomy Summit.
All right, so we have a star with us, and somebody who's actually walked the talk. And considering I'm a great fan of cinema and pan-Indian cinema, and I think she has proven it that she will do what it takes, and perhaps not kind of straddle too many worlds and lose sight of what she really set out to do. Thank you so much, Richa Chadda. Richa, you're a Delhi girl. You did theatre. I've seen you in plays. Let me tell you. And then you moved to Mumbai. And the first time I saw you on screen, you actually burst forth, because the shot, if you remember, it was Oi Lucky Lucky Oi. It's Dibakar's film. And the hero is sitting, and there is a shot of where you're actually towering over him and berating him, giving him, a kind of piece of your mind to say, you wasted my time all this while. Why are you doing this? I want to ask you something. We've had enough of stories about struggles and nepo kids. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm going to ask you that how easy was it to, not tough, but how easy was it to kind of meander into the world of Hindi cinema? And also, what did it take for you to adapt, or rather re-adapt? Because you also modeled. Yeah.
Good evening, namaste, salam alaikum. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction and this AV and this question. I only modeled for a very little amount of time while I was studying at St. Stephen's College in Delhi for a little bit of extra pocket money, and also because, we theatre wallas are often accused of not knowing how to be in front of the camera, how to pose, how to stand, how to speak. So to get over that initial inhibition, I did a bit of modeling for like a local dairy and a phone and a phone network and
Glad
such.
rags? Did you?
Yes, I also entered a pageant because for the same reason.
Yeah, right.
For the same reason.
Uh-huh.
To educate myself in a very wholesome way about being in front of the camera. But I must say my break came fairly easy. I was doing a play with my guru, Mr. Barry John, who's just been awarded the Padam Shri this year. He's an Irishman who moved to India about 50 years ago to teach theatre and use theatre as a means of social change. And we were doing this play called Baghdad Ka Ghulam. Somebody happened to see it. And I got called for an audition for Oi Lucky, and that's how I landed the part.
Okay, so we are not going to speak work now. I'm going to ask you something, and it's going to put a smile on your face. How's Zanera?
Zanera's good. I'm having separation anxiety. My daughter's just turned 1, and I've left her with the father, which is great. He was like, you go, do your thing, and I shall be here taking care of the child. Women need men like that.
Absolutely. Okay, one of the main characters that a lot of people shall always remember you forever, and may you go on for a long time, is Nagma Khatun. You look at it, I mean, when we speak about gangs of Wasseypur, we only remember male characters. You know, Sardar, Sultan, Faisal, like you call him, you know, and Piyush Mishra's character, the dialogues, so it's an iconic film. But I think the kernel of the film was Nagma Khatun. I think from a young woman who marries this man, a gangster, you know, tolerates but also loves him to pieces, because I can see that love through, you know, through all the ordeals that she goes through. And to mature as a woman, as somebody whose children, sons are the same, sees them get married, sees them killed. How, this is a canvas, you know, Richa Chadda, from a young woman to an old woman. Very challenging. I mean, isn't it true that you were signed for it much before the movie started shooting?
Yes, I was signed for it about 6 months before the film started to shoot, but I must say I'm lucky that I got the part, because a lot of women had turned it down. And they had turned it down only because it required a certain amount of aging. And you know what, I don't blame them so many years on. I don't blame them, because I see how the rules are slightly different for men and women, I would say, even now in the entertainment industry. Well, their loss was my gain, and I saw it as a great opportunity to display the whole range of my talent, to do the accent work of a Bihari woman who's not educated, from a rural area, who has 4 children, and then, you know, many grandchildren. So it was a lot of fun. Also, I just want to say, guys, I'm not nervous. I've just had a fever medicine. That's why I'm sweating. And the lights. Oh, okay. Good.
Wonderful. You said that you took up the challenge. I remember Anupam Kher, when he did Saransh, he said, I thought my career is over, because it was first offered to Sanjeev Kumar. He didn't take it up. Anupam ji did it. He says, I was an old man, you know, if all of you remember the film. He said, it's going to be curtains for me. No one is going to take me seriously. I think the actor in you actually, you know, triumphed that fear, did it? Because you didn't think that if I have gray hair, and if I look a particular way with crow feet and sitting on the floor and singing, you know, Tar se hamare piya, patle hamare piya, you are a saas now. It didn't matter to you. I've watched that film 18 times, and I see you like normal, like any other mom would be. So did that take, it was the actor coming to the forefront rather than a heroine, a young woman?
Actually, I never set out to be the heroine. I didn't, because I feel like I would not have been able to make those choices. If the focus was so much on youth and beauty, I would not take up that part. And it's because of what I want to do. Okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a heroine. I appreciate people who have that ambition, but I've always wanted to be known for performances and for storytelling. We produced a film recently.
First, Girls Will Be Girls.
Yes, and that's the reason, because I think at the heart of all of us is stories. Stories are what make us who we are. I'm in Abu Dhabi. The thing that I remember about Abu Dhabi now is what I first heard, that Abu Dhabi, there was a bit of water and people came. And Abu Dhabi means, I think, father of the camel.
Right.
Correct? Am I right? Right? Father of the desert. Desert. Gazelle. Okay. Whoever told me the story told me it was a camel. So I'm sorry for that awful anecdote. Please gloss it over and pretend it never happened. I was talking about how important stories are at the heart of everything we do, how we shape our identity. At the heart of that is stories.
You know, your production house, she runs a production house, and you know, I don't know if how many of you watch the film Girls Will Be Girls. It's coming of age, rite of passage, a brilliant film. Pushing Button Studios, when you started that, you were constant. What I loved is that you took up a challenge that let's have an all-women crew. I saw that you actually trained girls in lighting and being gaffers and, you know, editors. Did you manage 100% crew, Richa? Women crew?
No, we didn't. The reason my director wanted a 100% female crew or majority female crew was because of the nature of the story. It had a lot of young actors. It had them, you know, there were scenes. Of course, there's no nudity or explicitness, but there was scenes of intimacy and tenderness and vulnerability. She wanted them to feel comfortable, so she wanted a majority female crew so that, you know, whoever's holding the boom or whoever's holding the lights is not making, especially the younger actress, feel uncomfortable. And we realized there are no light women in the film industry because it's somehow considered to be a man's job to lift the heavy lights and transport them or to do the grips and the gaffing work. Well, women lift all the heavy weights when they have to go fill water in villages of India with pots and pots stacked up on their heads. They sometimes walk up to 3 miles, which is insane. So it is untrue that women cannot lift. I myself do a very mean deadlift and a lat pull down. For this reason, we started a small training module for women who wanted to either be DOPs or gaffers in the film industry. Because, you know, lighting is so important to storytelling. And it was called Undercurrent. And we are going to do the second edition of it in November this year. It was supported by RE, the camera company, and we applied for a grant to the Berlinale and to MasterCard, and we won a little bit of money, and we actually gave the girls a bit of stipend to go and, you know, leave their day jobs and come in for the classes and do the struggle of trying to be light women in the industry. Today, 2 of them are gaffers, and 1 has become a DOP of the 10.
I think that really deserves a round of applause. Imagine you'll have, you know, an all-women crew, gaffers and light women. We always say light men kind. Now we have to change that. And even spot girls, if we can have, nothing like it. I mean,
yes, somebody started this company of spot didis in the film industry.
Yeah.
Because they're like constantly aware of what somebody needs, you know.
Yeah.
If they need fresh chapatis for the lunch break or if they need a hot cup of tea for the night shoot.
Wonderful. Let's talk about Lajo, your character in Hiramandi. Of course, you've had experience working with Sanjay Leela Bhansali in Goliyon Ki Ras Leela, I remember. But then this was something really unique. Once again, a character, Lajo, who is in love and is so much in love that love overtakes every emotion. And I think a lot of us women have felt that. I have, I do not know many have, that nothing matters really. It's just to be in love, to kind of love the man that you do. I also see that you know the man is cheating on you. I see that the man does not want you around. You know that scene in the restaurant where you are, you know, knocking on the door and say, let me in. I mean, I can also live with your wife. I'll be the second wife. We can both be happy. Where will we go for honeymoon? You're trying to normalize the situation, whereas you know that this is the end of it. And then your death, which is so tragic as a young person. I mean, one of the most powerful characters, as it were, in Indian cinema. Again, different emotions of a woman. And I would not call her a weak woman. I'll call her a woman who's in love. And I think it's a very unique emotion. Talk a little about that. Did it take, some actors say that some roles really take the mickey out of you. You know, you're so drained out.
Well, I was drained after that part. Also because he's a very exacting director. He knows exactly what he wants. And for a take in the song, the clips of which you played here, he did 100 retakes and eventually didn't use the shot. So So he's a very hard taskmaster, but I was very grateful to get that opportunity also because I feel like uh, I took that role up as a challenge. It was the smallest role in the show, and I've been accused of playing so many empowered characters. I wanted to play a woman who was not, I wouldn't say she was weak, I would say that she had no agency.
Yeah.
She was disempowered, she had no agency, she was totally in love, which also makes you lose a little bit of agency in the first place. And I wanted to, you know, just surrender to this part of this woman who is so desperate to find something to cling on to, something to belong to. And then you go into her history and how, you know, somebody in her family, you know, sold her into the
Yes,
trade. And
that's
I
correct.
still wanted to have dignity for that character. So she walks away with a laugh, even though it's a,
That
you know,
laugh, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
when Huzur is speaking and
Yeah.
she's laughing, that laugh is very subtle, but it's like unmissable totally on
Yeah.
screen.
Because who are the men to judge these women?
Yeah.
Who are the men who are, you know, who have several lovers and who are obviously not faithful to their wives, but it, you know, with the Tawayafs, it was very much like the geisha culture, like men of cultured families would go
Yeah.
to them to listen to the recitals of music and dance and poetry. But you know, still the women don't belong. They're not looked at with that sense of respect in society. So I wanted to play this part with a tad bit of dignity for that reason.
Absolutely. One other question, and I'm going to move track now. You know, there was a time when there were stereotypical women in Indian cinema. Like you're a bad girl, so you're wearing a dress with slits on both sides, you're smoking, you're drinking, you've put on a ridiculous blonde kind of a wig. Yeah, but I see films now, I loved Call Me Babe, but then I still see, and correct me if I'm wrong, that women who are shown to be bold, I don't know what that means because I think it's a much abused word. What is boldness for you may not be for me, and it's my choice, and vice versa. I see that they are hopping clubs, they are smoking up. Why do we need that veneer? I mean, Huzur in Hiramandi was very empowered and bold and liberated, and you know, we have a lot of women in our country who are. Do you think that we are not able to come out of the grammar or that narrative, Richa Chadda?
You know, I want to say this might be a little controversial because we are sitting in a room with equal representation of men and women. Nothing against you, but those women that are written like stereotypical characters that if a woman goes to a nightclub or if she has a beer or smokes a cigarette, she's a bold woman. That description to be the only definition of a bold woman sometimes happens because those women are written by men. You know, if the woman is written by a woman, she will relay her vulnerabilities, she will relay how she balances the house and the Indra Nooyi example, how she balances her professional life. Today I'm here sitting with all of you in Abu Dhabi, this wonderful country. I'm going tomorrow to the Venice Film Festival, and my husband has, you know, volunteered not just to, you know, fully take care of the child, but also of my two wonderful cats. And he's currently with my parents enjoying a meal, and we need that in society for us to look at each other with humanity and normalizing things that are normal. It requires a little bit of nuance in the writing, and I think it's slowly changing with women telling women's stories.
Which you plan to do with Pushing Buttons. You've got lots of stories lined up. I've read extensively about it. You've got, yeah, I have. Because this first one was a batchmate, the one who did Girls Will Be Girls.
Yes, she's one of my oldest and closest friends. We went to
Yeah.
college together.
And the other which are lined up also they're fantastic. These are stories told by people who've lived them.
Yes.
It's not somebody who comes right from the top and parachutes down.
Yes.
Yeah, speak a little
And
about that.
there are wonderful exceptions to this. There's a film by Imtiaz Ali on the singer Chamkila, performed by Daljit Dosanjh and Parinidhi Chopra. It came on Netflix. I don't know if it's available here in the UAE. It had a wonderful song about women and desire. And it was so playful. And I think that's the beauty of Indian culture. All our wedding songs, even Tar Bijli Se Patle Hamare Piya,
What a song.
it says a lot without explicitly saying anything. It's naughty, it's playful, It's like what we call nok jok and ulfat.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to remember that. This idea of one kind of woman being ideal, I find it to be a very Western and little bit of like a Victorian hangover concept.
On that note, thank you, Richa. I'm going to ask the audience if any of you may have some questions. We are getting to the end of this session. Please raise your hand and a mic shall be sent to you. Thank you. Anybody?
Thanks, Richa and Sudha. This is a wonderful start of a very nice evening that we are anticipating. I haven't watched any of those movies, I'm so sorry, but I did watch a Netflix series called Inside Edge. And what I have taken away from the nights that I spent watching that series, because it was so addictive, that there were a lot of strategies and boardroom tactics that I could have picked from there, and I actually implemented it in my real-time life. So I think your second backup option, if you ever want to be, is a corporate motivational speaker or something, because a lot of good strategic approach to how you deal with adversities when you're at the lowest point were very wonderfully done by you, and you were very impactful. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. That was more a compliment than a question. I totally don't mind. And I think it's the writer's room in that they were very clear about having an empowered female cricket team owner. And this like heady mix of Bollywood and cricket, which we know we are all crazy for.
Thank you.
Anyone?
It was Zarina Malik.
All right. Anyone else from the audience? All right, then. Richa,
Hi,
take it.
sorry.
Huh?
They were just taking too long
Sorry,
to get the
I'm
mic
sorry.
to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Richa. You're going to hear me speak next, but you'll see the context of my question. So I've been working a lot with Guneet Munga around looking at the power of what all of you as artists are capable of doing when it comes to getting these incredible messages out around having the global world understand about India, right? But ultimately, the thing that we keep thinking about is how does those right messages, so whether it's a period end of sentence, or whether it's a kicking balls, or whether it's, frankly, I loved Hira Mandi so much, I can't even begin to explain, but like, how do you get those messages back into the villages where these women actually are the champions of change, and they need that motivation and inspiration to get their stories out and voices as well? And where is that collaboration between impact and Bharat, and then, of course, your power of who you are to be that representative to make the big changes happen?
I think in society, often artists are overlooked. I remember when COVID happened, there was a list that went around saying, you're a non-essential worker. And that really upset me at a very deep level, because in the lockdown, all everyone did was sit at their houses. Of course, people with privilege and comfort who didn't have to worry about the next paycheck or worry about paying the rent. In India, they were watching movies, they were watching shows, they were watching, poetry, they were reading books. So, to meander and come to your point, an artist is not a non-essential member of society. We have incredible soft power. We have the power of creating change through transforming hearts. And I think sometimes a look, a glance, or a piece of poetry can achieve that in a second. A great piece of shairi can achieve that in a second. And you may not get to it with a very, very well-written, very well-researched academic paper. When you realize the importance of your own agency as an artist and your creative output to the world, we all work hard, we all want to get somewhere, get a bit of success, get a bit of comfort, maybe buy a car, travel a bit. But after that, what? You have to have satisfaction in your job. And for me to get that job satisfaction, I have to consistently push out narratives where I feel like even if the female character is flawed, like she was in Madam Chief Minister, she started off right, and then somewhere along the line became too ambitious and somewhat corrupt, maybe somewhat violent. But she became the first female chief minister of that state. So you have to have a seat at the table. For that to happen, it has to be normalized even in the press. If an Emirati woman goes and climbs the Mount Everest, it becomes easier. It gets done. It opens a door for all the others to follow. So this is something we have to do consistently. As artists, we have to also recognize our soft power and tell stories that make inclusivity and equity possible, because equity and equality are two very different things. And then to speak about a very, very practical solution, especially in a country like India where the divide is very wide, where there are people like me who speak in English, who travel, and there is also somebody who's never gone to school, whose generations have not gone to school. What do you do with that? You invest back into the villages. You invest back into, say, a small women-led business. There are so many examples in India of women who've done that. Women like Laila Tayyabji, she started Seva, which is about chicken curry, which is hand embroidery done by the women of Uttar Pradesh, which, mind you, is the belt which produces the most amount of embroidery in the world, even for luxury brands from all over, like Zuhair Murad and Ali Saab. All of that stuff gets done in that little belt. or like Lijjat Papad or Amul. These are all cooperatives started and pushed by women. So that is a practical way to do it, to educate via like our gaffing program. These are the things I think we can do.
That wonderful note, Richa Chadha. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Richa Chadha. Thank you.
And after that riveting conversation, may I please call on stage Ambassador Sanjay Sudhir along with Mrs. Sudhir and our event partner Tola and Carrots founder Rajan Goswami to please present the award for the SHEStar Award for Cinema to Richa Chadha. She is one of India's cinema's most fearless performers, unafraid of unconventional roles, unafraid of speaking truth to power. From Gangs of Wasipur to Masan, Richa Chadha has brought authenticity and depth to characters that have left audiences spellbound. Off screen, she is an outspoken advocate of women's rights, mental health, and social justice, using her platform to amplify voices that need to be heard. A producer, performer, and change maker, she embodies the spirit of meaningful cinema for redefining stardom with substance. The SHEStar Award for Cinema goes to Richa Chadha. Thank you, Richa Chadha. Thank you, Ambassador Sudhir, Mrs. Sudhir, and Mr. Goswami. That was the first award of the evening. There is many more lined up with many more inspiring speakers that are going to take center stage here. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the conversation that defines the future of leadership. On this stage, we bring together women who are not only leading businesses, but reshaping economies and societies with their vision, passion, and perseverance. Oops. They are the womenpreneurs defining the next wave of leadership imperative. Let's take a look at their journeys so far. Please welcome Chetna Gala Sinha, founder and chairperson, Man Deshi Foundation, the banker to the unbanked, empowering rural women through finance and entrepreneurship. Joining her is Kanika Tekriwal, CEO, Jet Set Go, who disrupted the skies by democratizing private aviation. We also have Aruna Narayanan, sustainability leader and investor and founder, Real Impact Solutions. An economist and policy leader driving innovation and thought leadership. Next, Ajayta Shah, founder and CEO, Frontier Markets, whose work in last mile entrepreneurship for women has lit up lives across rural India. And Dr. Sonali Datta, Executive Director, Business Pure Labs, a scientist, entrepreneur, pioneering innovation at the intersection of research and enterprise. And moderating this panel, ladies and gentlemen, is News9's Executive Editor, Karthik Malhotra. Please give a huge round of applause for our esteemed panel of guests this evening.
Thank you, Samya. Oh, wow. Good evening, Abu Dhabi. Good evening, ladies, and very few gentlemen, thankfully. I think for once we can say that. Ajayta Shah, Chetna Gala Sinha, Aruna Narayanan, Kanika Tekriwal, all of you, very, very happy to be literally the odd man out in this gathering. But I think we have some diversity here, not just in terms of more women than men on stage. And I think at one point a few years ago, there was this definition of panels being manels going around. So I think we at TV9, we at News9 have broken that, and I'm really proud of everything that we've done to have these wonderful ladies here with us this evening. Sona Mahapatra, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. So diversity, not just in terms of male and female, I think we've also got diversity in terms of all the expertise that all of you lovely women, lovely professionals bring to the table every day. We've got social entrepreneurship, we've got last mile entrepreneurship, we've got value investing, we've got aviation, wow, and it still happens to be a wow. And of course, we've got Sonali Datta here representing Pure Labs, medical sciences. Pretty much every single aspect which was once seen as belonging to men, now being challenged by these women and now really being shattered by these women. So let's first begin with a huge round of applause to everyone of India. All right, so I believe, to make the most efficient use of time, let's divide what we want to put into perspective today into a few buckets. To me, leadership, and we are talking about the leadership imperative, to me, leadership is all about, number one, it begins with inspiration. Ajayta and I were talking about it yesterday. Ms. Sinha and I were talking about it just some time back. It begins with inspiration. It moves on to action. And from there, it's got to become sustainable. The sustenance becomes very important because you take an action, it doesn't work, it doesn't do the job. And finally, I think it also comes down to celebration. And all of these stories that you will hear today have pretty much ticked the box and gone well beyond that in each of these four constituents that we spoke about. So let's begin first. Chetna Gala Sinha, ma'am, thank you so much for flying all the way from Mumbai and being here with us in Abu Dhabi. Let's first begin with inspiration. What was your inspiration when you started the Man Deshi Foundation? And how does that inspiration now trickle down to every last person who you have been able to touch? And ladies and gentlemen, 1 million women entrepreneurs have been made, 1 million lives have been touched by Man Deshi Foundation. So let's hear from you, ma'am.
Thank you, Karthik. And thanks TV9 and News9 plus Vicky to give me an opportunity to share my experiences. And Salam Alaikum, Abu Dhabi. You know, actually I had not decided. I never thought that I will set up a foundation or set up a bank. Born and raised in Mumbai, as a student, I got active in Gandhian organization. And when I was doing my undergraduate program, I went with the Gandhian organization to work in a drought-prone area, where I saw that temperature here is so much, right? But this is in late 80s. When I saw women in May with the temperature of more than 48 degrees Celsius, breaking stones and getting their livelihoods or wages because there were no jobs. And that was such a shocking to me, and I felt like, you know, where do you see women, I mean, breaking stones? You see in Hindi cinema, getting life imprisonment where, you know, finally you get that, with that crime, you break stones. So I felt these women are actually trying to get their wages. And I decided that I would like to work with these women. And the most interesting part was that when they got their wages, they said, we want to do savings. And my obvious question was that, do you even have a money to save? But these women, they were saying that we want to do savings. Banks are not opening the account. And they were not asking for loans. They were not asking for subsidy. What they were asking is the safe place to save. So then I thought, why not set up the bank? And that's how we decided to set up the bank, gave a proposal to Central Bank of India. You know what happened? When most of our women, we mobilized the community capital, applied for the banking license to the Central Bank of India, and when we applied for the license, we didn't get the license. You know why? Because majority of our promoting members were non-literate. In the proposal where their names were written, there was thumb impression. So on that ground, Reserve Bank said that we cannot issue a license to the bank whose promoting members are non-literate. I was nervous. I came back to the village Maswad, in a very small village in Maswad. And I told our women that we are not getting the license. They were not nervous. They said, why are you so nervous? We will learn to read and write from today. And our literacy classes started. And we applied again. At that time, I didn't go alone. With me, 15 women accompanied to Reserve Bank of India in Mumbai. I wasn't sure what are they going to talk. But they said that you denied the license because we cannot read and write. They told Reserve Bank officer, we cannot read and write, but we can count. And they challenged.
Wow.
And they challenged that, ask us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. If we fail, don't issue the license. But tell your officers to do it without calculator and see who can calculate faster.
Oh, wow. What a story, Chetna
That was the
Galasena.
inspiration.
That was the inspiration. And here, we thought we were going to start with 4 buckets. I think let's add one more to that, and that is persistence, perseverance. And that is something, and of course, the confidence to go ahead and prove the central bankers that, hey, we understand banking better than you do. And I think that is something which obviously is inspiration, action, perseverance, everything rolled into
That's how
one.
Mandeshi Bank started.
Fantastic. What a story, ladies and gentlemen. Mandeshi Bank. Let's hear it for Chetna Galasena before we move on. Ajata Shah, let's come to another aspect of this. So, of course, one is something that Chetna Galasena has pretty much championed the cause of banking the unbanked. And as she calls herself, she's the banker to the unbanked. But beyond that, there is enterprise to be created. You've got to make sure the story moves beyond earning money and saving money, but making money grow. And I'm not talking about passive investing here. I'm talking about really putting money to that good use, putting capital to that good use, and really having that confidence to go ahead and make a living for yourself, for your family members. And that is where Frontier Markets comes in, doesn't it? Let me help you with that. I think it's on the green light.
Now it is, yeah. So first of all, I have to say that thanks to amazing leaders like Chetna, someone like me can exist, right? So in the 80s, when you were figuring out how to serve the underbanked, I was just born. I was literally just born. And I wasn't born in India, I was born in America. So for me to come back to India, today I can say I'm now 41 and 21 years of working in India. I leverage the beauty of what has been built by pioneers like Chetna and the government infrastructure where we did say that the power of women collectives needs to be harnessed to create savings, open bank accounts, and make that happen. But to your point, but then what? So you can provide a loan to a woman, but if she doesn't have a business to run and doesn't necessarily get customers and doesn't necessarily, catch up with like the wave of time, she's not going to grow. So what we did was we leveraged the beauty of what has already been built, and we said, let's bring technology, let's bring in data, let's bring in AI, let's bring in commerce. And we basically said that these same amazing women that I'm going to call them talwars, They're talwars. They
Talwars,
really
ladies
are.
and gentlemen, is a
Literally
Hindi
like the
word
sword,
for
like
sword.
they're the talwars of the entire ecosystem of the village of the society. But we have to actually, as business creators, see them not as beneficiaries, not as bicharis, right? Not as like poor people that need help, but see them as assets. And all of a sudden, we started seeing women as being the trust makers, the influencers. They're the ones that actually know everything that's going on in the village. So now imagine if you wanted to work with like an Airtel Payments bank or like an e-commerce company like a Flipkart who wanted to reach this mass market.
Yep.
To be putting this in context, 700,000 villages, 800 million people, all wanting to get access to services where they live, 15 minutes away. Where women come in is they become those assets. So what do? We invested in a tech platform, we invested in market linkages, and we actually made them become that talwar. So today, over 50,000 women entrepreneurs across the country are helping Bharat India be seen, and over 5 million families are getting access to services. These women went from earning nothing to earning now the Lakpati Didi. I don't know if you guys all know these phrases.
That's a government scheme. The target is to get women to
Earn at least 100,000 rupees.
100,000 rupees
To become
every year.
powerful. And so the idea was that we've made that happen. And now those women are accessing finance from banks like Chetna's banks because they have credibility, they have access, they have realities. And so there's a full circle of power. Now, to your point about business, what makes this really powerful, Chetna ji's already given you the beautiful story of these women, but imagine a 14-year-old girl that got married. A 14-year-old got married, and at 17, she had her first child. By 20 to 22, she then joined the self-help group infrastructure. By 30, she's become a Lakpati Didi, like earning 100,000 rupees. She has become the force of nature. She's become the PhD that understands technology. She's become the voice of the community, and she's ensured that her 14-year-old doesn't get married ever again and goes into education or becomes a police officer. So Lady Singham. There are a lot of Lady Singhams that are coming into this world, and it's because of the inspiration of the full circle that I think is powerful.
So it goes beyond just seed capital. It goes beyond just empowerment. This is pretty much a mindset change which gets institutionalized when there is financial inclusion to begin with, and when that is topped with a sustained and a continuous income that flows in thanks to business. But I want to stay with this entire social sector for just a bit. But before that, you know, your stories, both what I've heard from Ajayata and Chetna Galasena, has just reminded me of a song made popular, sung by Sona Mahapatra. And I think that becomes absolutely relevant, that if there are 1 million lives being touched, if there are 700,000 entrepreneurs being created, mujhe kya bechega rupaiya? And I think that becomes a story of, you know, of 14-year-old women not getting married at the age of 14. And that's the sea change that institutions are bringing to society. But I want to stay with the sector for just a bit. I know Kanika and Sonali are waiting very patiently. We have some time. We will come to your stories. But I want to bring in Aruna first. Aruna, the entire context of what you do and the community that you serve, ESG, value investing, can there be a bigger value than people in that entire people planet product mix? Is there any business which can sustain and tick any box, ESG or otherwise, if the people aspect, and when we say people, 50% of the people on the planet are women, if the people aspect is not taken care of, can any business sustain?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the lovely question. And you know, when we ask people what is sustainability, you know, everyone gives very complicated definitions, but sustainability is our ability to sustain. So before I get into ESG and technical terms, I think in all our lives, we need 3 things to sustain: health, wealth, and relationships. So only if these 3 are in balance, you have your ability to sustain. Right? I might have a lot of people around me, but if I have 0 balance in my bank account and no health, you know, having a lot of people around and focusing on people doesn't work.
Right.
So I think the way we phrase sustainability is people, planet, and when you work on these 2, it leads to prosperity. So that's what we call, you know, the triple P, and a lot of
Right.
companies now are reporting on their triple bottom line, which is people, planet, and prosperity. So now people are the enablers. So if you want to protect the planet, or if you want to generate income, or if you want to grow wealth, people are the ones who are the actors and who are the enablers. And I think that's where, it's like a puzzle piece where you mix these three ingredients and then your recipe comes out, because one without the other leaves the dish tasteless.
I hear you. I just want to throw a few numbers at you.
Sure.
Please, pardon me throwing numbers. I'll try to keep them as simple as possible, but these are awe-inspiring. And why I asked you that question was that if the triple bottom line is so obvious and so relevant, the point still is that we don't see enough women in leadership roles. I mean, the five of you sitting here are exceptions. You're not the rule. And just to throw those statistics, Nifty 50, the benchmark index of the 50 most valuable companies by market cap in India. Can anybody here take a wild guess? How many of those 50 top companies in India have a woman CEO, a woman leader? Unfortunately, the answer to that is one. We have HDFC Life. We have one Nifty 50 company which has a woman CEO. Expand that. Look at the Fortune 500 companies. Among the top 500 most valued companies in the world, exactly 55 of them, 11% of them are run by women. So while 1% may seem too low in the context of 11, or 11 may seem too big in the context of 1%, the point I'm trying to drive home is that you still have 89% of the companies run by men. So if triple bottom line is so obvious, why is it not getting implemented?
So let me respond to the controversial question with a slightly controversial answer and make the discussion more interesting. Karthik, I would say that I wouldn't judge diversity and equity by the fact of how many women are sitting as CEOs in big companies. I would say there are a lot of women who've made the choice to slow down. And I think that choice is a powerful choice. I have people within our company, Real Impact, who are IIM alumni, probably toppers in their class, who have chosen to slow down because they wanted to be with their daughters during their crucial years of study. It was not compulsion. It was a choice. So I would say, as much as we speak about this whole women agenda, and I can give myself as an example, I'd say sometimes you choose to step out of the corporate rat race because that's exactly what it is. And I did not want to run a rat race. And that's why you see a lot of women entrepreneurs coming in today. Because there are realities of the workplace. And I'm just going to take the liberty of being candid. And it's probably in the industries which all of you operate in, is there are certain toxicities when you are operating in certain ecosystems, and you just don't want to play that game. So what do you do?
Say devil's advocate? Sorry, I have to. So the other elephant in the room is ESG as a concept, people, planet, purpose, was like a CSR HR initiative. It was never a core part of the industry movement. There's only such countries, I would say UAE, or like regions, and I would say now, frankly, India, pioneering it and taking it much more seriously.
But Ajeta, wouldn't you say even that after the government made it mandatory, did we have enough companies? I mean, of course, we had the Infosys Foundations and the Wipro Foundations of the world, but did we have enough companies really undertaking CSR as part of their corporate social responsibility and not a box to tick?
I can tell you this of my own experience because it's all about structures at the end of the day. Until I had an NGO structure, I didn't understand the power of corporate philanthropy. Let's be clear, India has 2% as mandatory. That's 30,000 crores, right, of money, INR, that needs to be spent. The challenge is not about the willingness to tick the box. The challenge is about co-creation. Right. So social entrepreneurs like Chetnaji or myself or others, we are stepping in a much stronger leadership role now, and not walking up to a corporate saying, can I please have your philanthropy? We're actually saying, how do we better design your business and purpose goals that allows you to be more effective and scalable? Right. So it's a co-design, but it is happening. So I would not say that it's not, right? I would just say that, yeah, the 1% and the 11% you're talking about. We just have to get a bit stronger and more effective
Absolutely.
in pushing the game.
Absolutely.
I appreciate a lot of the women who are making choices. See, because sometimes you get into a mode of compulsion. Let's say we have some of our friends from Harvard Business School who have done a degree. You go and invest yourself, do a degree, and then you kind of get into compulsion that, oh, now I have to go and become the CEO of a company because I have done 3 things. But, you know, when you, the actual empowerment, and I'm kind of hesitating to use the word, but for lack of a better choice of option here.
Call it elevation of power, please.
I think the ability to make a choice for me is elevation. And 15 years back, when I came into the UAE, I'm a business owner here in the UAE. If someone had asked me, Aruna, would you ever start a company here in the UAE 15 years back, I would have said, hell no, I'd rather just get a job.
Right.
Today, I am a proud owner of a sustainability enterprise, supported by a lot of my friends here who, you know, kind of create that ecosystem for you to make that choice.
Right.
So for me, ESG is a reality. There's a long way to go, but it has to be in balance. Just focusing on people without focusing on, for example, the governance, which probably these 2 lovely ladies are working on. You have a lot of wealth, you have a lot of relationships, you have the people, but no structure, then the action doesn't move into impact.
I hear you. Absolutely. Kanika, let's move on, in fact, to you know, something that Aruna was alluding to, that many women take that active decision to not run the rat race. And now, thanks to entrepreneurship and startups, we are seeing a lot more women actually opt for that option. And who would epitomize that more than you, who pretty much had the sky as the limit? And that is exactly what Jet Set Go does. It's democratizing private aviation. How does that work? I mean, how do you have the gumption to dream that big and rat high that you want to start a business, and the challenges that you had faced in your personal life before taking that step into the world of aviation, which arguably would be perhaps that one final bastion which the male-dominated society believed it controlled. And there you've shattered not just a glass ceiling, taken it 35,000 feet above.
I think, you know, a lot of things come to mind when you say this, especially given what my co-panelists have said. And for me, I think the only reason I've been able to do this is all the no's I've heard because I was a woman. You know, I wanted to become a pilot, and my father said, "Hamare ghar ki ladkiyan driver nahi banti hai," which literally means, you know, girls from our house don't become drivers. And I said, no, I'm going to be flying planes. And my dad said, no, but that's as good as being a driver and working for somebody else. People from our houses don't work for somebody else. And I think that was my inspiration, and that was my motivating factor to, you know, go prove them wrong and say, okay, if I can't be a pilot, I'm going to have a fleet of pilots. And when I started my business again, you know, I remember the first sales pitch we went to do. I walked into an office and I was the last person to enter. And the chairman of the company who we'd gone to pitch with, and this was 22 years old, a very different human to what you see sitting here. He said, excuse me, miss, can you ask everyone if they want tea or coffee? He didn't realize that I was the person who'd come to pitch this private aviation company to him to use. And I wanted to cry. Like, you know, I said, what the hell, you know, how do I react to this? So it took me a lot of courage to actually put myself together and say that I'm here to sell you my services, and, you know, this is what we do. And his first reaction was, you know, why aviation? You are going to fly a plane. You're going to operate these planes. You know, cupcakes are trending. Why don't you look at something more, you know, easy? Do a cupcake shop.
Did that hurt you? Did that make you angry, or was it just funny? I mean, you're laughing about it now.
You know, I'm laughing about it now, Karthik, but I think it was all the no's that actually, you know, inspired and motivated me to get that courage to prove these guys wrong. And I made sure I sat in that meeting, I closed that customer. Today, he's our biggest champion, he's our biggest motivator. In fact, he very publicly says that before I met Kanika, I only had women as, you know, secretaries and PAs and EAs. And at managerial levels, today he's got a board with a lot of women. He's got CXOs who are a lot of women. And it also made me realize that, you know, you have to be the change you want to be. You have to create a path for other women to succeed. And, you know, why you see a lot of women entrepreneurs, I mentor a lot of young girls, is simply because of what, you know, my colleague mentioned, that it's very hard for a woman to go out there and work in a corporate environment where, you know, you have to ask, okay, my kid's PTA is there today, or my kids have to, you know, my kids are not well, can I work from home? I'll give you a simple example. You know, we took an oath as a company to have equal number of women in the cockpit. And we did that. We put a lot of women in the cockpit. And one of our first young girls who was flying on the plane, a customer walked into the plane and then he calls me and he says, Kanika, you've put a cabin crew in the cockpit. I said, no, she's a pilot, dude. Like, what the hell? He says, no, what are you saying? She's so young. So, I said, what do you mean she's so young? She looks pretty and she's young. So you assume she's dumb and blonde and she can't fly a plane. And then the cabin crew
Talk about
calls me.
stereotypes, should we? I mean, seriously, this is the textbook definition of stereotypes.
And the cabin crew called me after the flight and he's like, ma'am, he was reading the Hanuman Chalisa throughout the flight. Like he was that paranoid about what's going to happen to him. And then he called me and he says, this is the best landing I've ever had in one of your planes. I said, yeah.
I was just going to narrate that story to you. The other day when I was flying to Europe, I was flying in an Airbus A380. It's a massive aircraft. Honestly, I think the best landing I have in my living memory. Women are just better at landing those massive aircraft, aren't they? Like many other things.
So, and in fact, so I said, well, you were so doubtful that the girl landed the plane. Then he was trying to think of a reason of what to say. I think he just put the phone down. And I have data to prove that, whenever we've had 2 men flying in the plane, each tire wears out in about 86, 87 landings. And now it takes 142 landings. That's almost $60,000 a year saved on each aircraft. So, this is scientifically backed data. I'm not someone who is, gender specific where I say, I will only hire women or I will only hire men. But I think the challenge comes in, when these girls, when they become mothers, when they want to go on maternity leave. Now, for every business to give maternity leave of 8 months, 10 months turns into an issue. Now, when these mothers who are pilots ask you for leave, it becomes an issue. When this mother's an engineer and she says, I can't turn up to repair the aircraft, it becomes an issue. And I think that's why a lot of women are taking a different pathway, where they're being their own bosses. And I think, someone needs to put in some research to see how many women entrepreneurs do we have in this country. And that number is going to be astounding. I don't know if that data exists, doesn't exist. But I'm seeing more and more young girls today take charge of their own careers. I met a young woman entrepreneur from a village in Uttarakhand recently. Her husband used to beat her up every day. And whatever money she used to earn, like plowing the farms, etc., he used to take it from her and spend it on alcohol. And there was a company which went into her village and taught them how to grow mushrooms. And today she earns 2 lakh rupees a month. And she's divorced her husband, asked him to get lost. She's got 4 kids who are studying in a private school in the city. And I think that's the growth story we're talking about. Those are the women entrepreneurs we need to salute. More than us, I think it's those women who really need, a big shout out there.
You're right, Kanika. And I think there's a lot to really discuss and to sort of ponder over and ask tough questions of ourselves. The pertinent questions you've raised are, why is it that the mother has to take leave when the child is sick, and why not the father? And I think, with some degree of pride, I can say every time my child is sick, I'm definitely at home with her. So it also comes down to how organizations are structured. It also comes down to what are the value systems in place. But let's hope we have time to get into that as well. Sonali Datta, thank you so much. I think you waited very, very patiently. But again, healthcare, STEM education, doctors, engineers, these are, at least my growing up years, and I'm 41, Ajeta is 41, at least in the 80s, 90s when you were growing up, I think the normal mindset was that engineering is something which is definitely for men. And we also saw, in fact, even in my MBA class, I saw there are more male MBAs who came from an engineering background than women pursuing MBA who came from an engineering background. I'm not an engineer myself. So I want to understand, again, STEM education, research, medicine, engineering, technical subjects, was that always a passion for you? Was that something you always wanted to pursue? Or did life just happen on its own?
So we're talking about the 80s and 90s. I'm from the 70s. So I'm from the 70s.
Right.
And at that point in time, the stereotype was that if you are good in your education, if you're doing well, if you're topping your class, you must become a doctor, provided you have a passion for biology. And I think that's where my path had started. So it was this general societal directive, and that's where you go. I started off that way. I'm actually a dentist by initial qualification, and I came to this country starting with practicing dentistry. I got myself licensed, and I worked through the whole thing. It was this point in time, a lot of ladies talked about women making a choice when you have kids. So when I had my second child, I had to take a short break from working, from practicing dentistry. And that's when I thought, I said, I have to do something which allows me to continue my work to continue with everything that I'm doing. And, I had a lot of passion in me and this stuff I wanted to bring out. I didn't want to be that person just sitting at home. And that's when I continued. I said, okay, management is where I'll move to. With that, I can have a 9-to-5 job. At least I thought I would have one with a 2-day weekend. It started with that. And building on from there, it's gone on to coming to this whole commercial side of things, where I find myself being the only lady sitting in the boardroom. Recently promoted to a position of Chief Commercial Officer, where I sit across people where it's mostly men. And yes, it is mostly men in the boardroom. And when you were asking that question, I was actually waiting to answer that. Why do we see more men in the boardroom? I think it is because of women. Because women, we take time off, we are at home to support children, and that is why men can thrive. But I also see that changing now. I see Richa talked about her husband taking care of the 1-year-old daughter. I'm lucky to have a husband who takes care of everything, including cooking. So when I go home, which is at maybe 8 p.m., 9 p.m., sometimes even later at night, I come home to a nicely cooked meal, hot, and that's because my husband is supporting me. He works, he has his own business, but he knows the hours that I keep. He's there, he supports me through everything. I think that stereotype is changing a lot. And people are choosing what they want to be, what they want to do, and there's a very good balance, at least coming into a certain part of society. That's
Is he
how
a good
I see
cook,
it.
your husband?
He's amazing. He's amazing.
Oh, fantastic. What is the favorite dish for you that he cooks for you?
It's mostly steaks that he does. So
Wow.
come home.
The stakes are high, guys. The stakes are high here. So great. I mean, I wanted to ask you, but perhaps it might be a little foolhardy, but I'll sort of roll the dice anyway. A boardroom full of men, does that make you feel odd, or are you used to it now?
I'm very used to it. In my organization, I'm called Superwoman. Not because I fly around. I think it's just my resilience. I've sat through it. I've sat through it a lot. Every time I get into a room where there are new people who don't know me, I've seen that the men start talking, they have their views and their point of views, and they go around. It's later when, as a woman, I listen to everything and then I start talking is when they realize that, okay, we've got someone here who's an equal. And I've seen that change. I've seen their mindset change. So now, no, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't think they see me as a woman at all. They see me as a peer.
As a professional.
They see me as a
one
professional.
One among them,
Absolutely.
perhaps better at the job than many others. Fantastic. I think, I'm pretty sure we are coming very close to ending this discussion. But since we're talking about the leadership imperative, I think, a question that often needs to get answered but doesn't, or sometimes I believe gets answered incorrectly, is the style of leadership. And I think in 9 out of 10 cases, when you ask somebody, not necessarily a woman, when you ask somebody, what is it that a woman brings to the table, the answer to that is empathy. I think men bring a lot of empathy too. To give you an example, in 7 of my direct reportees, 5 are women. I think I'm fairly empathetic as well, arguably. But the point I really want to ask, and I think perhaps nobody better than the 5 of you to answer that, is there a different leadership style for women than is for men? Because at the end of the day, I've had male bosses, I've had female bosses, and oh my God, I remember some of the bullshitting I've got from my female bosses. It'll put all my male bosses to shame. So, I want to understand, is there a difference in the leadership style, and can you box them into a masculine style of leadership and a feminine side of leadership? Let's reverse the order. Sonali, let's hear your views first.
My personal style is transformational. And I feel women are less transactional, more transformational in their leadership style. And transformation doesn't mean it has to be soft. Transformation can be firm. So it is the need of the hour. And at that point in time, if you need to be firm to transform something or somebody, you use that leadership style.
So is that an individual trait, or do you rate that as a trait that most women bring to the table, in your experience?
In my experience, I've seen most women tend to bring that. We are, I think it's in our nature. We are mothers. We are used to taking care of people. So it's inherent in our nature. And we combine that. And I think over the years and with experience, you tend to transform your own style. You develop a completely different, very unique style where you adapt to what is needed at this point in time, which could be a soft touch at that point in time. It could be something really firm. I need it now, needs to be done. I don't care, don't go home. It could be that as well. So I think we can work on both sides.
All right. Kanika, I would argue that could be true for most men as well. But what is your leadership style? I don't want to get into an argument here.
You know, I still don't, I'm a Gemini, so I wake up with a new personality every day. And I go back to sleep with a different personality and a different leadership style.
How are you as a leader today? How does that compare with yesterday?
Let's just hope I'm a better leader today than I was yesterday. I'll leave it at that. But, you know, on a more serious note, Karthik, I think today's day and age requires you to be human leaders. And why I say that is, you know, you're dealing with this new generation. So I have a new chief of staff who's 24 years old. And
a male or a female?
Female.
Bias?
So
was it merit or was it you just wanted a woman subordinate?
To be very honest, I didn't even interview her. I let my leadership team find me a chief of staff who they thought would fit.
And that leadership has what ratio of men and women?
It's 4 men and 1 woman.
Okay.
So, but this young girl comes into the office and...
Just asking.
And so I have my CFO sitting on one side and I have her sitting on one side and I'm asking them to develop a model. You know, I'm telling my CFO to develop this model of a new business that I want to do and give me all the numbers and all of that. And he says, yeah, it's going to take me about 7 to 8 days to put this together. And then this young girl sitting next to me in 10 minutes has used AI. I don't know what the hell she did. And she had the model ready for me right there, sitting next to me in 10 minutes. But my CFO will call me ma'am, you know, listen to all my nonsense. If I lose my cool, he will be very patient. And this girl, the one time I lost my cool when something went wrong, she said, thank you, Kanika, I don't want to work with you anymore. I mean, yes, I made sure she came back the next day. But why I say
How did you offer her an apology or an increment?
I apologize, and that's what I said. As a leader, you have to be very human today. You know, that's the key of it all. It's gone are the days. I've seen my dad, you know, yell at people and get his way done. I see my father-in-law do the same. I see a lot of my own senior leadership who 60 plus do the same or 55 plus do the same. But I think whether you're, you know, as a woman specifically, if you're, and again, I mean, no bias here, but, you know, if you're passionate, you're considered aggressive is very true. And for women to, you know, get their point across, especially in a country like India, yes, it does take a lot more. You know, so if I tell a pilot he's doing something wrong, he's probably not going to accept it from me. But if my chief pilot, who's a 62-year-old male, ex-chief of Air Force, blah, 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 tells them the same thing, it'll be accepted, repaired, done. But that's for the older
But
generation.
again, if the chief pilot there is a woman, then would the feedback be accepted?
Think so. I don't even think they would accept a chief pilot who's a woman. And that's why if you look at all the airlines in the country, there is not one single woman who serves as a chief pilot in the entire country. And you know that's what it boils down to. I think there's no style of leadership that really works today in terms of across the board. You've got to be a very, very malleable leader, you know, who really changes their ways when you're dealing with a 24-year-old and a 32-year-old and a 62-year-old. And that's the only way you're going to survive in today's world. Yeah.
All right. Aruna, I will come to you. Ajeta really wanted to respond. There was something going on in her mind. I really want that to come out. What did you want to react to, Ajeta?
Sorry, you're hysterical, by the way. And I keep looking at Jane.
This is me being serious.
I know you're being serious. Okay, so I'm going to say that for a very long time, for the last like 15 years, every time I was on an article, whether it's Forbes or Vogue or blah, 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 everyone always said, tell us why it's so challenging for women entrepreneurs. Like, why are there not enough women entrepreneurs? And I got really annoyed because I said, excuse me, can we please understand that it's not challenging for women entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurship is challenging, period. But let me tell you why women are assets. And let me tell you what our strengths are. We are everything that you ladies have already said, but we're also multitaskers. We believe in partnerships. We understand resilience to me is such an important point because that creates patience in a very different way, and then you end up building to last businesses. One thing that we've been always coining ourselves as weakness, which I actually think in hindsight now is our strength. Women don't create Ubers of the world. They don't lie about their growth and then raise $250 million and are okay with having like lost businesses, right? Women are there where they practically design their business plans and they practically take the money that they need and they create profitable, sustainable, long-term businesses. These are strengths of women as leaders, and I can tell you this across the board of the 500 plus startups that I actually mentor, but also like looking at this as an ecosystem. So I don't want to just bring that out. Secondly, I think the point that you're bringing about in terms of men versus women, it's the wrong perspective. Fundamentally, it's about transformational leadership, which comes into values. And the example I'll give you, I always walk into a room and no one thinks that, well, now everyone knows that I'm the CEO. But otherwise, when I used to walk into the room and I had my CEO, my COO, and my CTO with me, they would assume I'm one of them and I'm not the CEO. So I had to like aggressively go, I'm Ajeta, because no one understood that Ajeta was a male or a female word, like name. And I'm like, dude, undefeatable women entrepreneur. What do you mean? But walking in, handshake first, and not getting mad about it. And then in terms of what you were saying in terms of the culture, you're right. 20-year-olds are very different to handle than 62-year-olds. And then imagine rural versus sarkar versus like samaj versus bazaar, right? Like there's a reality here that we are formidably able to recognize. It's not empathy, it's understanding. We go deeper. And we do actually understand how to navigate what is a complicated ecosystem. And I believe that we do that. Why? Because we also fundamentally are in a place we have to level the playing field. We have to catch up. The entire world, I'm sorry, they say it's 127 years, but for women can be equal leaders. We are trying to level that playing field, and that is why we are aggressive. We come in more meticulous, we come in better prepared, we come in to understand different dynamics of people, but that doesn't mean that the men aren't included.
When you say we, do you mean me, or is that a general
No,
trend that you've noticed?
I think it's a we. I'm sorry, I'm saying we. Ladies, you agree? It's a we, right? But I'll tell you the difference is that we don't want to be inclusive or exclusive. We don't want to be exclusive. We want to be inclusive. So the example I'll give you, out of my 210 staff that work in the field with these 50,000 women entrepreneurs, 190 of them are men. They're men. And those are the men that kind of are in the meetings, and they're the ones serving the chai when the women are coming together for their meetings. Because it's about building customs, principles, values, and culture.
Sure.
And those things, I think, are leadership things. I don't think it's necessarily a gender thing, but I would still say I think women are more ready to
Ms.
do it.
Sinha, I want to give you the last word. I want to come to Aruna, who's been nodding in complete agreement, and now she's laughing. So I don't know. I mean, one could argue, and we will not get into that argument, but one could argue that everything that Ajeta spoke about women leaders is true for men as well, and may not be true for many women. But I don't really want to egg you on here. But I want to understand. You've been nodding very aggressively. Do you want to add to what Ajeta was saying in terms of your leadership style and your experience?
For a change, I'm actually going to agree with you.
With me? Thank you.
Okay, so let me.
Yeah, but it didn't come out.
I mean, for a minute, we all love stories. So let me just give you a bit of a context. So when I grew up in Mumbai, born in Delhi, raised in Mumbai, and for the first 5-6 years of my life, I was jumping walls with boys playing street cricket. It took me a while to get to that girl-boy differentiation in terms of, oh, he's a boy, he does and plays certain games outside, and girls play with Barbie dolls. That didn't exist in my childhood. And somehow that idea grew with me. So for me, when you ask about, going back to your first question where you said, where's the people in the ESG? You didn't ask, where is the woman in the ESG?
I said
right?
people, and 50% of that is women.
So I would stick to the people, because what happens is leadership styles are not man-woman, it's masculine-feminine. There are times when I have to be masculine in my leadership style, but what really matters is, are you able to get to a spot where you're authentic? Otherwise, leadership can tire you. And I'm saying this as someone who's been in corporate roles, who's been there as an entrepreneur. And if you don't learn to get to that spot where you are in your own skin and you're authentic, it can really tire you, and it can affect your mental and physical health. So for me, the leadership style is very present, because I can't copy-paste my leadership styles, and I wouldn't want to distinguish it based on gender, but I'd say feminine and masculine are two elements of leadership.
Right.
And just for me, it's about being as real as possible.
Authenticity at the end of the day
And being
is what
vulnerable
matters.
sometimes is okay.
And I will have to wind this discussion up, but not before giving the last word to Chetna Gala Sinha, ma'am. You bring the maximum experience here on the stage, and I think a few of us combined would not have as much experience as you do. But, I really want to understand your leadership style. What you've done is there for people to see. It's for that 1 million women to feel every day. But if we were to just try and pinpoint, how do we move the needle on fixing that one critical element to level the playing field that Ajata was talking about?
Sure. You know, Karthik, when you talked about empathy and all these, it was going on in my mind was that what do women bring on the table? And I very strongly feel they bring wisdom. And when you say that, and let me tell you also the experience which I've got while building the digital banking at Mandeshi. We were like, having best technology, Accenture, HSBC were supporting us to do it, MasterCard, and having all these digital card, credit card, everything. And village women who have never been to the school, they were ready to use these cards and digital wallet on the phone. But they said that, we don't want PIN number. And we were like, we'll do financial literacy, we'll do digital literacy, you will remember the PIN number. They said, no, find some other solution. So then we said, okay, and then women said that, what about biometric, what about Angutha? And we said, that is a great idea, why don't we use it? So we adapted a biometric to do the digital banking, and women use their digital wallet with Angutha.
Yes.
And you know what they said? They said कि मेरा PIN number तो कोई भी चुरा के ले जाएगा, लेकिन मेरा अंगूठा कोई नहीं चुरा के लेगा.
Right.
Anybody can steal my PIN number, but nobody can steal my thumb. And as Kanika, you were mentioning, right, that money goes to like liquor. So they not only wanted access, but control on finance. And when we found out that solution, you know what women said? That when you are designing any solutions for poor people, for women, never give poor solutions to poor people. They are smart.
Right.
So I would stop here and I say that this is the wisdom they bring in, and the needle is listen to them. Maybe they have something more and more wiser than you to suggest. So it's very important that you listen to poor people or listen to the people from whom you are finding the solution. Don't try to teach them and advise them.
Right.
They know what they want. Thank you.
I'm definitely a little wiser after hearing that, but thank you so much for that wisdom. And thank you, ladies, for everything that you're bringing to the table, for being inspiration, and for really taking that inspiration forward, translating it into action and into creating sustainable businesses. It's been a pleasure being the odd man out here. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Samir taking a break. We now have our colleague Sagarika Bhattacharya here to take the proceedings forward. Sagarika.
Thank you so much, Karthik. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sagarika Bhattacharya. Namaskar, Adab. Well, up next. Well, in an unpredictable global economy, he represents a new generation of wealth leaders who see opportunity where others see uncertainty. As founder, CEO, and chairman of investments at Lamer Capital, he has built a UAE-based investment powerhouse that helps clients, especially women, adapt, preserve, and prosper, even in volatile times. His vision of wealth management is not about transactions, but creating intergenerational value, a theme that resonates deeply with tonight's conversation on women, wealth, and legacy. We're talking about our next coming up TEDx, which is Next Gen Wealth, Adapt, Preserve, and Prosper. Please welcome Mr. Ankur Atre, CEO, Lamer Capital. Thank you, Ankur. And the stage is all yours.
Very interesting stories, very inspirational. Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here today, surrounded by too many incredible women, leaders, innovators, mothers, entrepreneurs, and friends. As a husband and a father of two ambitious, strong daughters, I see firsthand every single day the immense power, resilience, and brilliance that women brings not only to our families, but to the world around them. Let me start with a truth that's undeniable. Women are not just important, they are essential for the economies everywhere. The numbers speak for themselves. I heard so many inspirational women leaders were talking about the numbers are less. Let me share a few statistics. Though the numbers are less, but the volumes is huge. To quote some statistics, the numbers speaks for themselves. Global women now represent 13.4% surge in millionaires, a growth rate that is reshaping wealth creation. Women-owned small and medium enterprises are flourishing, as we saw in our previous panel, driving innovation, employment, and sustainable growth in ways the world has never seen before. And yes, Beyoncé was right. Women really run the world. Something my daughter said to me yesterday stayed with me. As I was preparing for today's speech, she said, "Papa, you know, women financial resilience is not just a social imperative. It is an economic necessity." It was too much for a 10-year-old girl, but I think she was correct. Is there anything I want to leave today is knowledge with over 20 years of advising billionaires across the world. Now let's talk real. Let's talk about next generation of wealth. What's the new rich spending their money on and how they are shaping the future of finance and prosperity. As an analyst, I see the pattern clearly and they are fascinating. They are spending on health, wellness, and longevity. You have earned your money and now you want to endure, you live for a long life. And that makes perfect sense, hiring a nutritionist, eating good quality food, retreats to India or Switzerland. Immense experiences and travel. The new wealthy generation is chasing experiences, not just possession, exploring unique places, immersing in culture and creating memories that last a lifetime. This is the currency of the fulfilled life. Next, they are spending on education and skill development. Knowledge is power. Women today are investing in themselves, upskilling, learning new trades, and acquiring knowledge that ensures that they stay ahead, empowered, and independent. Strategic investments. And in my eyes, this is most crucial. Women are not just earning, they are ensuring their wealth work for them. Smart strategic investment allow financial freedom and long-term security. And what I want to share is simple but powerful. In this rapidly changing world, the question we all must ask ourselves are, how do you adapt? How do you preserve your hard-earned money? And how do you prosper? And that's legacy. Here's the truth. Wealth shouldn't be destroyed by volatility. It should be designed to endure it. That's the conversation I want to have today. The world we live is unpredictable. Headlines, political tremors, market swings, inflation, these are realities we face every day. Think of an inflation like a termite who eats your hard-earned money every day. People might have a mindset that not to invest in the uncertainty, stay in cash, but to slowly erode your hard-earned money. And it's a slow loss. So how do we adapt, preserve, and prosper in today's world? Be smart and not just hopeful. Market moves fast. Look for investment that are risk adjusted, where volatility can become an ally, not a threat. Don't chase the biggest yield. Design your portfolio to grow even when the markets go downturn. This is exactly what I specialize in. We make money even in downward trends. Preserve, protect what matters. Build risk-efficient structures, protect your principal while leaving room for growth. Ensure liquidity to your lifestyles, and commitment are never risk. Discipline, clarity, and transparency are the key. Never let short-term noise derail your long-term strategy. Prosper, make your wealth work for them. Build network of trusted advisors, banks, and researchers to guide informed decision. Structure investment that generates steady returns while capitalizing upside returns. Focus on long-term goals, not reactive moves. True prosperity is intentional, disciplined, and resilient. Wealth today isn't about chasing high return. It's about creating strategies that endure, adapt, and deliver meaning across generations. Storms will come, but you can sail in a way that works in any direction. Legacy isn't just multiplying wealth. It's preserving it, it's adapting with the time, and ensuring it empowers your family, your community, and your dreams. Ladies, you are not waiting for opportunity. You are creating it. You are shaping not just your own future, but the economic future of entire communities and countries. Invest in yourself, your dream, and your resilience, because when women prosper, economies thrive. When women invest, society grows. When women lead, the world changes. Here's to the next generation of your wealth. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that inspiring speech. And now, of course, we are moving on to our next segment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is the most important part of any organization or a company? Any ideas? Any clues? Absolutely, and that is exactly what our next session is going to be. It is the people. The story of any organization, essentially, is the greatest asset is not infrastructure or capital, but it's the people. As Director HR at GAIL, he has been a force behind progressive HR policies that encourage inclusivity, innovation, and entrepreneurship in India's energy sector, especially one which is a public enterprise and industry traditionally dominated by men. He has been a champion of women professionals, ensuring that the workforce reflects the diversity and talent of the nation itself. Please welcome Mr. Ayush Gupta as he talks about the crucial role women play in shaping the organization's future.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great honor and pleasure for me to be standing here before you and sharing a small story with all of you. Till today, when I entered this venue, from the day I was invited for sharing my story, I was just thinking about what value that I would be able to add among so many accomplished people and women entrepreneurs who will be there talking about their success stories. And the discussions which I heard in fast 1.5 to 2 hours made it very clear that there was every point, everything I can relate to when it comes to the initiatives being taken by a corporate organization and as head of HR, what we are trying to make a difference. Starting from the cue that Richard talked about, telling stories, and that is where I gain confidence that whenever you get an opportunity, you must tell the story, however small or big it may be, because that story can be a role model or inspiration for others to follow. So here I am sharing a small story that at GAIL we tried to initiate. GAIL, as you know, maybe is a public sector enterprise into oil and gas business, and in terms of it, look at the women employees, again the numbers, statistics was being shared by Karthik. We are less than 7% of our employee strength is women. But here I make again a bit of debatable point. Then when we say that we have more than 5,000 employees, but we have less than 7% of women workforce, primarily because we are in an oil gas industry and 70-80% of our employees are engineering background. But one part which we often miss is not that we just have 5,000 employees. Along with those 5,000 employees, we have 5,000 spouses of those employees who are equal partners to the growth and development of the organizations. If those 5,000 women, like other panelists were sharing, that they made a choice to be at home, to be with the family, to take care of the family, if they were not there, GAIL would have been as successful as an organization as it is today. So they are equal partners. They are as an employee to us only. So how, as an organization, we take care of those employees or the other better half of our employees is what we try to do with an initiative under the title of GAIL Abha. And people were sharing the story again that because they get married, because they have to be close to their family, because their husband is working somewhere else, they have to take up a shift from one city to another city, maybe in an oil and gas industry, to some remote parts of the country where they may not be able to pursue their own passion or dream or a professional career. So how can we support such women who have their qualification, who have their dream, and who have their passion to pursue their professional journey is what we try to attempt. And before I share the details of the story, I think a picture or a video can tell story better. So I would like to show the journey through a small clip and then try to conclude with a few words.
India's largest natural gas company, GAIL, a leading PSU, attracts employees of exceptional caliber, and their spouses too often bring immense talent and professional qualifications. However, with most GAIL townships located in remote areas, opportunities for these individuals to fully utilize their potential remain limited. Recognizing this, GAIL Abha, a platform where the spouses of our employees were guided on a journey of self-exploration and business development, was launched in March 2023 during International Women's Day celebrations. The initiative aimed to create new avenues and provide platforms for the participants to explore their skills. This not only supports families, but also kindles the entrepreneurial spirit of this talented community. Through a program designed for nearly 30 weeks, the participants learned from IIT Madras experts about aspects like entrepreneurship, idea generation, and small business management, which paved the way for a brighter and empowered future for all its participants. In addition to exposing the participants to the startup environments and the necessary tools to begin their own ventures, and the result? New ventures took flight in the fields of food, well-being, education, and more. Our budding entrepreneurs began their own version 2.0 of life. Initiatives like GAIL Abha made possible the journey from homemaker to entrepreneur. Every story became an inspiration. Every success became a light of capability. Despite the limitations of remote townships, this initiative connected hidden talent with opportunities and transformed a new dawn of entrepreneurship into a shining reality.
GAIL Abha के कंटिन्यूस सपोर्ट और गाइडेंस से आज एक होम मेकर एक कंपनी केक एंड बाइट्स प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के डायरेक्टर हैं।
GAIL Abha के आने से मेरा सपना सच में साकार हुआ है। आज की डेट में बिजनेस कैसे करना है, मार्केटिंग कैसे करनी है, लोगों तक कैसे पहुंचना है, कस्टमर्स कैसे बनाने हैं, फाइनेंस कैसे मैनेज करना है, ये सब कुछ मैंने GAIL Abha के द्वारा ही सीखा है।
We make value-based educational binders for kids. Our journey with GAIL Abha started 2 years back with a mere idea. Through various seminars, webinars, and mentorship programs, GAIL Abha helped us to develop our idea into full-fledged product.
GAIL Abha is not just a program but a dream, one that is transforming confidence, skills, and determination into achievements. This is the story of those women who dared to rewrite their own stories. Gail Abha, from homemakers to entrepreneur.
So this was in brief about what we attempted, and what we really tried to do is beyond making them entrepreneurs. It was also about what my other panelists earlier were saying, making a shift in the mindset that whichever location, whichever part of the world you are, in case you want to do something of your own, those barriers are no longer there. If you have the dream, if you have the passion, with a little support, with a little guidance, you can start your own business. It also helped us solve our own organizational issues, like when people are there in remote parts and their spouses are not able to find jobs or opportunities, they would like to seek transfers or they would like to leave jobs. So indirectly, it also helped us in terms of better retention and engagement of the employees for the organization also. But I also want to reflect upon and make a point when our earlier co-panelist was also talking about how do you take projects when we talk of ESG or sustainability, how do we choose projects or activities which really create a difference and which really takes into account or keeps the focus on the people, that is the core of any organization and their family members. So this initiative of Gail Abha was an effort or the attempt of Gail, which it started 2 years back on the International Women's Day, and I am pleased that tomorrow being the Emirati Women's Day, it also coincides this today's event. So happy to share this initiative. What it has done, if I have to talk in terms of the numbers of the impact it has tried to create over last 2 years, in terms of promoting self-reliance of the spouses of the employees who are there across the country. We started with 2 locations where the maximum number of employees were there, and now in the second phase we have launched it pan-India for all the 5,000 employees. So it addresses the employment gaps, and as I said, it also helped us to take care of the employee engagement and attrition also, and the request for transfers. It was a program spread over the period of total time period of 30 weeks, which included 5 layers, starting from creating a simple awareness to idea generation to hand-holding them, and finally in the final layer getting their businesses registered and up and running in the organization in a matter of 30 weeks. That is what I wanted to show. It doesn't take a long time, and ecosystem needs to be created where this kind of a success can be achieved. And if we talk of the numbers, we are in these 2 locations we had close to 1,600 employees. Say out of that 400 may not be married, so 1,000 married employees, so 1,000 employees. So in the first phase, 400 of them came forward to register for the program. 40% people coming forward and registering for the program. I believe that was a first success factor parameter for us. And there were a total of, in a span of 30 weeks, there were a total of 73 sessions, different sessions, camps which were organized, workshops which were organized, amounting to a total of 250 hours of learning innovation. And we partnered with the best of the institution in the country, IIT Madras, Indian Institute of Technology. Chennai was the partners to this journey. And as I told, 2 sites we had chosen. At the end of the 30 weeks, the success story was 42 entrepreneurs were launched. The companies were launched, having their businesses up and running. If they were not big enterprises, I would not say they were earning revenues on lakhs or crores, but they were 42 entrepreneurs being launched, starting their own business from their homes. And I can tell you, Gail invested not a single rupee in their business. That was their own money. What we provided was a proper awareness, a bit of hand-holding, bit of support in terms of shaping up their ideas, telling them what to do, what not to do, and giving them mentorship from, I think, all the panelists who were there. They could have been mentors to these people, some of them. would have been the mentors from the industry, from the people who had successfully run their business, to tell them on a pro bono basis that you can do it and how you can do it. That was the key parameter. And the testimonials which we received, you just heard in the video clipping also, and I could again relate back to the discussions. Some of the people coming forward and saying, till yesterday I was known as a wife or as a mother, now I am known as a businesswoman. Now my son or my daughter knows me. पहले बोलते थे, if I can use Hindi, कि पहले बोलते थे पापा काम करते हैं, मम्मी तो घर में काम करती है. But now I have earned a respect of that I also work. Earlier the kid used to say only father is going to the work, mother is at home. So the importance was not there, but the narrative changed and they also got a new identity as a businesswoman within the family also. And that is how the social stigma or the things around us go in the country and possibly across the world. So how do we change that narrative and bring a new perspective is what we attempted to do. And going forward, these are just some of the success stories out of the 42 entrepreneurs which were there. Somebody in food, somebody into mushroom farming, somebody was saying, somebody into developing a biofertilizer using the local soil and the plants. So that was also one of the businesses that was started. So making job seekers, job givers, confidence, bringing confidence and smiles into their lives, sustainable ecosystem of collaborative development where the organization comes together with the employees and their families to create an ecosystem. As I said, reduction in attrition rate, enhancement in the employee engagement level, and at least 5 of the ventures, 5 of the 43 ventures saw a growth of 17-fold revenue, 17-fold increase in their revenue when they started at the end of the 30 weeks of the journey. There were many challenges, and the execution was obviously, when we are trying to work and being in a public sector space, trying to attempt such a thing was not an easy task for us. But then with the support of IIT Madras and the faculty and the mentors, we were able to create into a success story. And to tell you, if I can be honest with, when we started, we thought at the end of the year, if we'll have 5 people who will be up and running their business, they can get their businesses registered, we would be happy. We'll see it as a successful story. But when we saw 42 of them getting registered, I think our dream came true, and that gave us the fuel that we now need to expand it to take it to the next level and expand it. These are just the numbers and the different sectors I just wanted to highlight. It was not just related to food. Many a times when we start saying that, the obvious choice comes that home kitchen is there and the people will be able to do their home-based, kitchen-based business, and often the example of Lijjat Papad is given, but it is much beyond the Lijjat Papad. What women can do, what they can do is much beyond their kitchens in terms of creating a livelihood and a business ecosystem. So now, inspired of the success story, we launched it in June 25 to across all the locations of GAIL. We are present in 23 states across the country with 5,000 employees. We have launched it to all the employees of our company. It has been successfully running in terms of, again, various sessions starting from AI tools to social media marketing to creating their own websites, Instagram pages, getting the registrations, getting the legal support, getting the auditing support. All these things are being told to them, shared with them. And in the next phase, in the future, as we take along with the idea is that we take it beyond our own organization. And as somebody was saying, how do we choose our CSR projects? As part of our CSR initiative, we want to take this initiative across the country to rural areas and provide this support of GAIL Abha journey to women across the country who have the dream and the passion to do something in their lives. So that is where we stand today. Thank you very much for a patient listening and the support. Thank you very much.
Clearly, there is no one who would know better than Mr. Ayush Gupta that how people constitute the most important part of any organization. They are pretty much the backbone of any industry, enterprise, or an organization. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on to our next set of awards. And for that, may I please call upon Mr. Ayush Gupta. I would request you to kindly come back on the stage. And I would also request Mr. Ankur Atre, CEO, Lamer Capital, to please come on stage to present the next set of awards. Mr. Ayush Gupta, I request you to come back on the stage as well. And the next award to recognize the achievements of women, how they have managed to transform their respective industries through their strategic vision, and of course, all the hard work that they have managed to put over the years. The News9 Global Summit's SHEconomy Agenda's SHEStar Award for CSR Excellence goes to Dr. Sana Sarjan. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Sana Sarjan represents the compassionate face of corporate leadership. As director of Danube Group, Dr. Sana Sarjan has been instrumental in driving the group's CSR initiative from healthcare to education, from women's empowerment to community development. With a doctorate in healthcare administration, she combines professional expertise with personal passion to ensure that corporate social responsibility is not just a mandate but a movement. Her work has touched thousands of lives across the UAE and beyond, setting new benchmarks for CSR excellence in the region. For bringing empathy into enterprise and making social impact to a boardroom priority, the SHEStar Award for CSR excellence for Dr. Sana Sarjan. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next award is the SHEStar Award for Aviation. No surprises there. It goes to Kanika Tekriwal, an entrepreneur who turned turbulence into triumph. Kanika Tekriwal has redefined what it means to soar against odds. Diagnosed with cancer at an early age of 22, she fought back not only for her life but for her dream. A disruptive venture that made flying private no longer a privilege of the few but an accessible reality. From being named to global power list to championing women in workforce, her journey is a testament to resilience, grit, and innovation. For taking India's aviation sector and her story to new heights, the SHEStar Award for Aviation goes to Kanika Tekriwal. And thank you, Mr. Ankur Atre and Ayush Gupta, for putting out these awards to our respective awardees. Thank you so much for joining me here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, where family ties and business blends, where legacies are built on values and trust, family businesses have their roots in tradition, passed from generation to generation. And for decades, men have carried the baton at family businesses, but that's changing now. Challenging traditional gender roles and redefining succession plans. These women coming up next have proved that business acumen has nothing, really nothing to do with gender. An enterprise will prosper under merit-based leadership devoid of any gender constraints. Take a look at this next AV that we have ready for you to get you a brief about who our next panelists are going to be up on stage. And now, today, we are in the august company of such women achievers who have contributed to this paradigm shift. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, may I please invite on stage Lavanya Nalli. Please welcome the Vice Chairperson of Nalli Group. Lavanya Nalli, with extensive experience in textile industry, is blending tradition with modern retail innovation. In a short while from now, we will also have Shafina Yusuf Ali, who will be joining Miss Nali. She is the founder and executive director of a Risk Art Initiative. Shafina is a passionate art enthusiast and a dedicated professional who has been instrumental in promoting art and culture through her initiative. Up next is also going to be Dr. Sana Sarjan, who will be joining her, the multifaceted Dr. Sana Sarjan, Director, Danube Group. Her roles encompasses leadership and philanthropy, where she often uses art to raise funds for charitable causes and also collaborates with organizations to promote education and skill development. And joining our guest this evening further is Dr. Jean Shahadpuri, Managing Director, Nikai Group of Companies, a global leader rooted in resilience and vision. Together, they prove that family businesses thrive not on legacy alone, but on leadership, innovation, and merit. Let's hear it for our panelists. And moderating this panel is News9's consulting editor, Sudha Sadanand. Ladies and gentlemen. And we have with us Ms. Shafina. I had just introduced you a short while ago saying you're going to be joining this esteemed panel as well. Please welcome Ms. Shafina Yusuf here with us. Shafina Yusuf Ali is the founder and executive director of a Risk Art Initiative. She is a passionate art enthusiast and a dedicated professional who's been instrumental in promoting art. Welcome.
All right, thank you so much once again. Today, these women on the dais, what we're going to do is affirm some realities and explode many myths. And one of the most irritating and oft-repeated cliches that, oh, you know, she's breaking the glass ceiling. I think the women on the stage today have punctured the skies many times over. And I think there are going to be many more skies to be punctured. Aur bhi aasman hai jisme surak karenge log. So a very big round of applause to all these women. I mean, what success stories are these? I've lived with them. I mean, like a good school girl. That is all my research. Don't worry. Get up. Let's begin with you, Nalli. I'm doing this. So when we say Nalli, for every woman, particularly in the South, it's part of our lives. You know, our weddings, it's heirloom. You just don't go anywhere else. I mean, your first and last stop is Nalli because of who you are. You're a fifth generation, you studied abroad, you came back. But what I'm very interested in is that when you speak about the silk thread and about the sari, and it's legendary that Nalli took great care of the colors and the designs. I mean, do you know when King George came here, his great-grandfather, you know, gave him a dhoti, which is we call a veshti, and it was called Darbar Pet because it had that great design. Or MS Uvalakshmi wore a blue, which is called MS Blue. Still, I have it, you know. So these are the great legends. How did a man start this? I mean, where did it all begin? I want to know the antecedents of the silk thread, as it were. Lavanya.
So I think my family business started 1928. So it's almost a 100-year business now. But if you actually look at us, like we come from a community of weavers. So we go back almost 800 years, which is how it is typically in India. But the interesting thing is your question about how did a man start it. And that's you almost, you know, like I almost have to pick apart the question.
Keep the mic close, please, Lavanya.
A man didn't start it, right? And if you actually look at weaving as a community, and in fact, you look at any of the crafts in India, you will see that these are communal activities. Right? If you go to Gujarat, you'll see that people work in clusters, they work in their villages. You will have the women who will do the dyeing, the men who will do the, you know, the tying. And so these have always historically
in our nation, like in India, has always been a communal affair. When we entered into business, I think it's been predominantly the men who've been the face of it. And I found it a little interesting that even for a product like saris, for generations, we've always had the men. But this is the place where I want to also say, in family businesses, now, yes, we are seeing more women in it. But even if you went back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, we've always had women in not just business families, but in family businesses. They were, I would say, playing the role of what I would call back channels, right? Where the maybe brothers can't get along, an uncle can't get along with his nephew. Usually the soft power, usually the back channels, very similar to diplomacy, would have been the women. Someone's wife will go and speak to someone's sister-in-law, will go and speak to somebody else, will broker a deal so that the men can get in the room.
Wonderful is that.
And
I mean,
it's
this
just about
is
time that we're formalizing it.
right. Okay, you remind me of women. You remind me of Nirma in Gujarat. Where everyone, the women work together. Shafina, wonderful to have you here. We know who your dad is, and today it's also about dads and dads-in-laws and everyone. We got to salute the men who paved the path for us, So it's not men bashing at all. I mean, Shafina, considering, it's not. Shafina, the thing is that you were born into the lap of luxury, as it were. Today, if I look at your businesses, I mean, you run multiple businesses. You're into food, you're into, with your husband, that is, empowering women. There is childcare. There are lots of other. What about the art collection, which you do, empowering artists in Abu Dhabi along with other artists, All this is very tough. Food is a very tough business, so is art. I want to ask you, did it help that you were born into a house where retail was almost, kind of spoon-fed to you? Did that help you take this forward as you grew up?
I don't think that in conversations in our household it was ever about the retail aspect or how is business done. It was more the legacy I think he left with us, and we still take all three. We are three sisters, no brothers, and I think the legacy, and we're all in business at the moment, and what we've learned and what we took away from spending all that time with him is a legacy of that business is beyond price. It's about value, and how do you bring these value additions to every single stakeholder, every single customer that walks through your door. How do you bring that value to everyone in your household? How do you treat employees like family? How do you use what you have created as value for your community? And I think this is, the legacy that we took away from us. And when you say, my father, magnanimous as he may be, gave us really the wings to do what we wanted to do in life. It was really the mother in my house, my mother, who comes from a very small village in Kerala, who doesn't even speak English to the day, who does her grandkids' laundry to the day. It was her who gave us really the roots of what it means to be a woman, irrespective of your career ambitions. You can still kind of be grounded and rooted and really understand what it means to be a good person in the world. And that's her.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sana, she spoke about giving it back to the society. She spoke about community, as businesses. I want to talk to you about, when the CSR was something which was very, very vibrant 20 years ago. After that, many companies stop doing it, and then you sit back and you say, oh, they're doing CSR because they're making big profits. But I read about your dad-in-law, about your legacy, about your company's philosophy. Give it back, and first to the people who work for you. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the people who work for Danu, they are taught English-speaking skills, computer skills. They take it very seriously, that if you entered a company like that, you go back being empowered. Speak a little about that, Sana.
First of all, am I audible?
First of all, I have to give it to you. You speak so beautifully. I just want to keep listening to you. I feel like you should be on a non-stop audio behind me. It's just such a beauty and strength in your
Coming from a
voice,
woman.
isn't it? Can we have a round of applause for her? It's so beautiful, and there's this beautiful, subtle power also in it, you know? So thank you.
From a
And-
woman, I take it as, a big compliment. Men, I don't know. Yeah, go on.
So, giving it back, it's true that a lot of people say, oh yeah, they have so much and thoda bahut de diya to kaun si badi baat hai.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people, unfortunately, they are not even blessed enough to do that much. I feel it is a blessing from God to me if I'm even able to do 1 dirham or $1 of return back to anyone in need. Because God has blessed me that I am able to do that, you know. And even I am able to take that decision is also a blessing in itself. If I'm a cursed child, I will not be able to take that decision, even if I have all the wealth in the world. This is one thing. But besides this, my father-in-law, his name is Rizwan Sajan. He's a very, very big hero for us as well. I live with him and my kids, and we all live together, 4 generations in the same family. He's the glue of our family. He is really a hero. We live together. Every morning he wakes up, he takes his swimming trunks and goes singing to the, swimming pool. He has this fervor. We know that the sun has risen, daddy is in the swimming pool, the day has started, you know. So he has that energy. So this is about, let's say, more than a decade ago, that our family is very much into cricket. So there was a cricket match going on, company cricket match. And this boy comes in and daddy was sitting and he's like, chalo jaake scoreboard banao. He's just go and make the scoreboard. He's like, boss, main nahi bana sakta. And he just went away. And boss was like, one thing ke boss ki baat nahi mani, and another thing that how come, what's going on? So he was very confused. He didn't call him right away there and then. But then afterwards he called him and he said, what happened? Why didn't you make the scoreboard? You just had to write it. He said, boss, mujhe maths nahi aata hai. Aur wo English mein tha. That moment he was like, he was so shocked. He called the HR manager immediately and asked him, I want to start maths and English classes now in our company. And that day they enrolled 40 students. Out of 40, 16 people internally were promoted because of just that education.
I want to talk about that as well. What a lovely, lovely initiative.
It is something
Ladies
small.
and gents, that requires,
And this is around 2011.
Yeah.
I got married, let's say 4 or 5 years later. And luckily, daddy found me. And he's one of those, he finds that this guy has some of the spark in it. Okay, let's use this and make it like a lit fire. So he's like, Sana, you don't have much to do right now. Come, I'll take you there. Yeah. And then he doesn't pay.
Yeah,
He pays with a lot of love.
But you have so much to do now. You've really surprised the old man.
The fun part about this is that I was on the cruise and my mehendi was on my hand and I was still on the phone getting registration of 4,500 blue-collared workers, and we registered them. I went to their camps and we registered them and we got them to study.
And another myth we need to explode is that we can multitask. No, we can't. It is just that we're kind of more efficient. Dr. Jean, there you are. And Dr. Jean is somebody I had a chat with the other day. We thought we'd chat for 5 minutes. We chatted for 42 minutes, Doc. So we had a long chat. Here is somebody who's a pediatrician.
Substantial, meaningful conversation.
So here's somebody, who was in the COVID task force. She's a pediatrician, training, doctor. Then she takes over and look at it, and it's the fastest moving FMCG, you have household goods. There is a story about her. I mean, all the women will love it. You walk into, after a hard day's work, it fascinated me. You walk into your kitchen and it says, hi, Sana, how was your day today? Good? You say, yeah, it was very nice. Someone, the fridge is talking to you. The tomatoes have expired. The cheese has expired. It's your mother-in-law's birthday tomorrow. Do you think we should send her some flowers? I mean, I think this is amazing what you are doing. And what you're doing is that making machines speak to you. For a lot of us, it's not a surprise. But for many women across the world, I think it's a great, great thing. So talk a little about your journey from being a pediatrician and doing this. I mean, this is amazing, Doc. Go ahead.
Thanks TV News 9 for inviting me over here. I think I've just had a lot of fun. And I've had a lot of fun listening to very inspiring stories. And I have to say, not every day that I spend can I say I've learned a thing or two, but I did pick up a thing or two here. So I'm thankful for that. And so that you're amazing. And I agree with her, with your tone of your voice. It's kind of magical. It has that sense. So my journey, not so complicated. Born in an Indian family who believed that education was the only thing that could get the girls a good boy, a good Desi boy. So of course I have a brother and me, and one had to be an engineer, one had to be a doctor. Wasn't a choice given to us, by the way. It wasn't something I had volunteered for or even agreed to. But it was like, become a doctor because now your brother is an engineer, so I guess we need one doctor, one engineer. So I did medicine after wailing and crying and spending many days in the lap of my mother. But went to the U.S. for further studies and stayed in the U.S. Ever since. So about 18 years I was in the U.S. and went through the journey of having a private practice to working for a corporate, to working for the University of California health system, working for the state of California, and then working most recently with the federal level with the COVID task force. I think it's a journey. It teaches you, the experience teaches you every bit of it. COVID hit, and we noticed that there wasn't just a disruption of supply chain and sickness and death, but there was a dramatic shift with reprioritizing what your values were. Reprioritizing what your purpose of life was. Right. And a lot of people did this insightful introspection and found that they wanted to go back to their roots, whether it's a country or back to their parents, and kind of be of service to them. Working in a federal task force, you realize you impact millions, right? We made policy decisions on COVID vaccines, COVID medications, social distancing, whatever it was, but I realized at the end of the day, I'm coming back to bed and just thinking one thing: are my parents okay? Like, anything in the world can happen, but nothing can happen to them. So I did this twice a day call, one early morning, one night. And after every day, they said to me, Jean, you keep asking for our welfare, and this is Dubai. Dubai has handled it very well, but I really think you're not okay. And I think you need us more than we need you. So why don't you come back? So I did take that call, because I think when you've been there, done that, been there in the rat race, and then really known that the impact a scientific person like me can have is only if I play the political game, and I'm on the right side of administration all the time. Right. I realized it's time to come home and maybe make an impact somewhere else. So I came back home to the family business, knowing very well that the business model had to change more to digitalization of finance, remote working. Also the consumers, how do we double down on durability, make it accessible, make service so possible for them that they just don't think about these things as chores, as something going wrong in the household. Also noticed that the people were rebuilding their lives, so household appliances weren't just gadgets around the house, but it was more, they were relying on them. We had to build a lot of trust with them, a long-term trust, to ensure that they are getting the convenience. And it's becoming more of a lifestyle, not just gadgets in the house.
You hold that thought, Doc, because when you say it's a lifestyle, I'm going to come back to you and talk about whether it's only for a few people, because you know, our country is about lots of people. Let me now come to you, Lavanya. Lavanya, you know, you are somebody who actually, I think, is somebody who's a flag bearer. You broke the traditional norms. A sari has to be felt, seen, to be bought. That's what, you know, you go to Nalli, you sit there, you get a great cup of coffee, they're hovering around you, they give you a sari, you touch it, you take it outside to the sunlight to see if it looks the same outside. You know, we've done that all our lives. You are the one who took it to, you know, e-commerce. I see that you came back in 2015, was it? 2014, 2015. You worked with a retail giant, you came back. You said, okay, it's going to be e-commerce now. You know, how did that impact the business, the traditional? You were number one But this is something Lavanya did, you know. So how did that expand your business? And also, did it impact your sales at all? I don't think so.
So the short answer is yes, it did. In a fairly positive
You made money.
way. Yes, yes. And which is in itself a mean feat for e-commerce to be profitable. And I'm not talking contribution margin, I'm talking profit before tax.
Right.
So a little bit about me. I worked in the family business. I spent 7 years outside of that. I went to Harvard Business as a McKinsey alum from the US, worked with Mintra, and then came back because those 7 years, what I had seen was, I'd spent those 7 years at a time, at a very, very exciting time, where I really saw the e-commerce boom from the inside. And after having seen that, it became very clear to me when I left Mintra in 2015, that this is a legitimate channel. The retailers, the incumbents at that time, weren't looking at it that way. They were looking at it as a discount platform. No one's going to buy there for the exact same reasons. Everybody likes to touch and feel. Who's going to buy this? Right? Years ago, grocery retailers used to think that way. Oh no, you can't. How can you just ask somebody else to pack, vegetables for you? You have to go and select it and pick the right one. Yeah, but nobody goes to buy vegetables. Right? You just you buy it online and then it comes to you. So I could see that this trend was shifting, and I could see other leading indicators. So I saw how, so multiple things, right? Like, not to get very technical about it, but I could see how smartphones were like completely exploding. It's not about access to the internet. It's about access to the internet in your hands. Right? Anyone can research, anyone can get information, anyone can express. That was happening. The larger ecosystem, the value chain was getting completely modularized. Before, you had to build your own supply chain, build your own servers, build your own, last mile logistics. Now a whole cottage industry had come up. So I could see that this industry is getting completely modularized. This is where the consumers are shifting. I see the trends, right? And I went straight back to the family business and I asked the old guard who were in place, and I said, look, I'm interested in this. Is anyone either going to pick it up or stop me? And they said no and no, right? And then I said, okay, do you have a problem with me picking it up? And they said, look, we don't have a problem, but you know how Nalli works. We want profits. So I don't want you, right? I don't want you sitting on it like all of these other giants for 10 years. And I want you to make money for us. And I said, okay, that's a challenge, and I'll pick it up.
Lovely story. And ladies, will you forgive me? We are running out of time, and I've been getting warnings in my ear, which I ignored, being a woman that I am. But thank you very much. We have to get on to our next session. But you've been wonderful women, and my apologies yet again that we did not speak enough, or else we don't even, a night would not suffice. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for all these wonderful women who made the time.
Next time, organize a nice bonfire in the desert so we can go on all night with this. It's going to be amazing.
With Sona singing some songs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for this wonderful.
Thank you so much, beautiful ladies. Well, welcome back again. I'm back. We have another exciting evening ahead. So please stay with us because we are coming out with SHEStar Awards, followed by an incredible musical journey with Sona Mahapatra. But before all that magic unfolds, let's begin with our next session. So let me introduce you with the next session. Let me take you through that. That's about Lamer Group. And for that, I need to have Mr. Ankur Atre Please, can I have you on stage, sir? So, well, we have heard Ankur before also. So, Ankur, I really wanted to know, wealth management, it's really that much important for all of us, or all age group? Please, few words on that.
This is a good surprise, I must say. I think we are in the new world where the books will be rewritten. The concepts have changed. You know, earlier we have been taught. I'll start with this because typically many investors, wealth managers, customers hear this from their bankers, especially private bankers. You know, the bonds are safe. You know, US treasuries are, you know, the best asset class and so forth. But the reality is how to mitigate the risk in current market environments. There are so many risks involved, geopolitical, de-dollarization. So to answer Sagarika, wealth management is something which need to be rewritten now. We need to have an active management, continuous monitoring, corrective actions is the key. It's been 20 years in this industry, Sagarika. You know, this is a very good question, and I can speak for 24 hours. This is one of the favorite one, and I would, of course, share a few interesting facts during our panel. It is, I think, it's not important. It's a part and parcel of life, which everyone enjoys every day, and if placed right, you can change the destiny overnight. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Ankur. And be there because we have this upcoming panel with us, and I need to introduce all our panel members. Ms. Neelam Verma, CEO of WealthLink Solution, is a global finance leader with over 2 decades of experience advising high net worth clients across emerging markets. Neelam ji, please. Thank you. Joining her is Ms. Jasna Bedi, Chief Marketing Officer and Managing Director of BCD Group, is a visionary in global real estate and branding. She has transformed BCD into internationally recognized names. Advocate Bindu S. Chittar, founder and managing director of Chanakya Consultancy, brings more than 3 decades of distinguished legal practice across the UAE and India. 3 voices together, and with that, I would love to introduce and welcome Sandeep Verma, who is the moderator of the session. We have Sandeep ji on stage, please. Yes. Can I ask for it? Oh, that's quick. The chair was there, it's just that it was right at the corner. Can I quickly ask the events team? Thank you so much. So now, Sandeep ji, all yours. The stage,
hello.
Please.
Thank you, Sagarika, for your very kind introduction. We are talking about women can do wonderfully well. That's just an example. I couldn't have done better introduction than that. But thank you very much. Thank you to Varun and TV9's team as well for arranging such an incredible platform and such good discussions. Absolutely thrilled. Privileged to be here amongst all of you. I hope you are enjoying. We have heard a lot of inspirational stories by so many speakers ahead of us, talking about struggles, talking about achievements, talking about how ambitions are kind of rendered. And our panel is just taking it to the next step because when leadership and vision continues, then it has to be accompanied with creating wealth, growing wealth, preserving wealth, and also the legacy that we talked about. So that's some of those things that our panel is going to dwell on, a lot of variables that we will touch upon, we will examine, and see how we can dig out on the well of wisdom of these stalwarts and get them over to the audience, and hopefully it will all be useful. So thank you once again, and we will start a question answer kind of format. We will see kind of how we can dig into each of your expertise and see that how you can share the experiences and views with the audience. Is that okay? Absolutely not, Anku. Don't worry about it. So first up, I think we talked about legacy, right? So the word legacy, and people would agree, is often reduced to inheritance. Often. We interchangeably use it. But I personally think for women, legacy can mean a lot more than just inheritance. It can be value, it can be confidence, and it can be continuity as well. So with that, I would want to ask and start with the word legacy. Asking all the three women over here, what legacy actually means to you? How do you define legacy? So can I ask Binduji, you go first?
Good evening, namaskar, assalamu alaikum. My voice is a little bit hard today, so sorry for that. I thank News9, TV9, and Lamer Capital, the chairman Lamer Capital, Emirati, my good friend. Thank you so much for having me here. And Sandeep, you asked a very good question to a lawyer, like what is the definition of legacy? If I answer the legacy like an answer from the lawyer's point of view, it will be boring for you. So I will make it very simple. As you correctly told, like legacy and inheritance, people mistake as one. Inheritance is just passing over the money, tangible, intangible assets to generations. But legacy, more than that. You are giving guidance. You are inspiration to them. You are giving them the wisdom, and that wisdom is carried through generations. That is the answer for the legacy. Because inheritance, in the other way, the money can always get perished. That is what we see. Actually, being in the third generation, I'm not talking about everybody generally, but many family businesses you can see perishing in the third generation itself. That is where legacy holds a lot of meaning. That is where we at Chanakya say also advise people to go for proper trust, foundation, family offices to be set up so that everything can be made into proper legal instrument which will be taking for the generations, translating wisdom into the procedural guidelines for the businesses to prosper throughout the generations. So we say that legacy leaves. She left a legacy or he left a legacy. Actually, legacy is set in motion. It continues. It will never dies. For example, very simple example I told Sandeep. Like the name I carries, Chetur family name. It's a legacy. It was done by a professional. He himself was a barrister who was a minister in the Privy Council in the British. And the Kesari 2 movie, he is the hero. Ajay, he did his character. So that is the simple meaning for a legacy, I can say. And it is very important at this juncture to understand for all the women who are sitting here also the financial literacy and the importance, and people like Ankur Atri who championing the cause for that is to be appreciated too. Apart from this, when you go towards like generations when they pass on this particular wisdom, they will be also having, like you might have heard in India also, when you pass over the legacy, it is even for a temple also, it is even the trust also. So all these names, trust, foundation, legacy, family, like business, are all interconnected. So my request is that this legacy can never be defined in full with a particular phrase, and I pass over that to my rest of the speech.
Thank you, Binduji. Well said, actually. Neelamji, can I have your views on legacy?
I completely agree with Binduji. Good evening, everyone. And as I said, Binduji has covered most of the points, but to me, legacy has a very broad perspective. Legacy typically is defaulted with wealth, with assets, with properties, with money, and also with a lot of fights once the patriarch passes away. To me, legacy actually goes beyond that. When I say why it goes beyond that, I'm a living example of that, because I have a family history wherein coming in from a royal family today, I don't see any legacy left behind because of poor planning. I come from the royal family of Rajasthan, and due to the mismanagement, sometimes you don't see that. But there are value systems that I carry of my family. There are many value systems that still continue to live on through my grandparents, to my parents, and through me now, which I'm imparting to my child. So legacy in actual terms is not only value systems, it's the vision. It is also a lot of confidence that you give to the next generation to live without fear. You know, whether there is palaces, whether there's gold, whether there's, you know, the horses, so to say, or the carriages, the way we saw, I think legacy lives on. And I'm very proud to say that today, as Neelam Verma, I carry that legacy which my forefathers actually brought together. So legacy to me is a lot more than only wealth.
Thank you, thank you. Jasnaji, what is your view?
I think we at BCD take legacy very, very seriously. It's a cornerstone of our building. We're a 72-year-old company. Me and my husband are the fourth generation at the helm of the company. When we talk to clients, they're more interested in creating value. They're more interested in creating community impact. It's not just real estate that you invest in. It's the difference that you're making today. It's the community. It's the cause that you're investing in. I think it's when you walk into a room, legacy is what introduces you before you actually introduce yourself. That stays on. I think it's more, the intangibles are definitely more important than the tangibles. The wealth comes and goes, you know, the real estate part of it comes and goes, but the core value system stays.
Absolutely. Jasnaji, thank you very much. As you can see, different perspectives, but it is certainly not just the balance sheet. It is far beyond passing the money to the next generation. It is a lot of intangibles as well that you pass on. So I think that's a good start. Let's move into the next topic, I think, which is equally important, that is uncertainty. We all are investing in our lives. We talked about investment is a part, when we create wealth, we want wealth to be preserved, we want wealth to be grown, right? And we want all of this to be done safely. I just remember, my conversation 4 months back with one of my friends and an investor, a lady, and I said that, how is it going, with your wealth? Are you okay? And she very comically gave me an impression, which I still remember. She said that, Sandeep, I feel like running on a treadmill that I don't have a control on. I'm just running so fast, but I'm not reaching anywhere. I really don't know who's controlling it and what I'm doing. So that's a very frustrating view of an investor today. What do we do with it? How do we take control on this? So I turn my head towards Ankurji and Neelamji, who are probably into the financial services, and I would want to understand, Ankurji, this uncertainty, unpredictability, it can only be a fear factor. Can't we convert it into an opportunity?
Hi, Sandeep. It's an interesting question. And to give you the answer first, I would like to give you some background. It's been almost 20 years in this financial advisory business, which I'm doing in different jurisdictions, Singapore, London, Dubai, and advising billionaire clients. So it's a journey. Now, if I take you back to 2008 global financial crisis, before that, no one has heard about pandemic. No one has heard about geopolitical risk. There was one crisis all of a sudden erupted in 2008, which is called GFC, due to the collapse of Lehman Brothers. And I always appreciate all these central banks after this 2008 collapse, they have become very, very vigilant. Before 2008, we hardly used to see any statements coming in from Fed. It is, of course, it used to come, it was not very often. Now, if you see in the last 20 years, we have seen dot-com bubbles, we have seen a pandemic, we have seen Greece crisis, we have seen rate of interest cycles, and now recently, you know, the pandemic. And the most recent one, our respected, beloved Donald J. Trump, trade wars, you know. Now, the philosophy why I have started Lamer Capital, because I have sailed through such crisis situation and I have created opportunity for my investors that volatility is not something you have to be scared of. I considered volatility is an asset, right? So to generate consistent cash flows by efficiently managing their risk, not utilizing, you know, this is also we have experienced by advising a lot of wealthy billionaire women across the globe, that earlier, if you go back to old school thoughts, if you are dealing with any private banks, you know, they used to ask 3-year, 2-year time frames, right? Okay, and all the money is invested. I have stopped doing since 2015. Since 2015, 16 during Brexit. So the efficient control, active management is the key, which one should adopt for their wealth management strategies.
Thank you, Ankur. Neerji, what is your view?
Well, I agree with Ankur quite a bit. I think volatility is something that one should not be fearful of. Frankly, I love volatile times because the more volatility that you see, for a very savvy investor, you will see that many more opportunities. So every time that you see that markets are going through turmoil, you will see that there would be somebody who is sitting there and taking those calls which are making him possibly grow their wealth 5x, 10x. And I can go back to the 1994 era or prior to that when I was doing my master's. I'm not trying to show my age here, but I've seen that during the crisis that India faced, which was the balance of payment crisis, from that time when we said that, for example, India is now all over, there's just no future for India, to where we've reached now. Every time that we've seen a fall, we've seen that we've emerged stronger. I think I would like to add a little bit on the women's side as well. Women make the most sensible investors. The reason is every time that you see volatility, they don't panic. They've seen enough panic in their households, so they understand how to manage panic. And because they're multitasking, because they have all the resilience, managing the kids, the kitchen, the work load, the bosses, they feel that, oh, this can be also taken over and, ridden over, I would say. So if I can add the woman angle here, I would say women fare better in volatile times. Volatility definitely is good if you want to grow your wealth. Staying put is another option because every time that you see a volatile situation, the more you act on it, the more you will see that you're getting deeper into that black hole wherein you're not able to decide. So staying put, staying calm, resilient is the key in volatile times.
But Neelamji, when volatility hits, uncertainty prevails in the market, staying put can sometimes be quite dangerous as well. That's where you see your portfolio depleting, right, losing values. So Ankur Bhai used a word called active management of portfolios. So you need to keep an eye, you need to work with advisors, who actually look after your portfolio and make adjustments to the changes to the market. So I think there is a lot to unlearn from the historic way of investing, and we need to relearn the new techniques and tools. Look at liquidity, look at structures where volatility can be used more productively to manage our wealth and to grow it even sometime more faster than the normal times, I would say. Any thoughts?
I think the entire concept has changed, Sandeep. Now, which I have discussed in the beginning, the asset classes, which has been, actively advised. I would add consistency is the key, And now, when you talk about financial resilience, volatility, the safest asset class, I think I would like to ask this question from the audiences, if anyone have this answer. We have been taught that bonds are very safe, Typically, I get to hear this from many, many investors worldwide, whether it is from Europe, Dubai, India, or I don't want to take risks. And I have raised this question because you have asked a very, very interesting question. I want to invest into bonds. Any guesses? What is the volatility of US Treasuries, which is the safest asset class? In the last 2 and 3 years, the volatility of US Treasuries has gone up higher than the investment grade bonds because of the uncertainty. So which I always advise is not about chasing high yield, it's all about managing your risk. Thank you.
Thanks, Ankuji. So this is a great lesson. I think this is a new normal, I would say. In the new normal, you need to change your investment habits and learn new techniques where you can preserve wealth and grow it even faster sometime using volatility or variations that earlier we used to think always associated with risk to the portfolio. Thank you. My next point and variable that we are going to develop on is trust. In a complex world where our women entrepreneurs are doing business, we always say that, trust is the best currency that you can bank on. But how do you generate trust? How do you create trust? Do you have any tips, Jasnaji, to our women entrepreneurs? How do they work on creating trust in the ecosystem that they operate in? They create, generate wealth, and preserve it.
See, from a real estate industry point of view, if you've promised something, you deliver it. Communication, delivery have to be absolutely there. If you have promised a sustainable innovation-led project, you deliver it. If you maintain that communication with your stakeholders, with your partners, I don't think trust should be a problem. But you can't have the right amount of funding, you can't have a life that shows that you have the money, but it's not going where it should go, which is your business. I think that is the first thing that creates a lot of mistrust amongst your stakeholders, your partners. If there's no transparency, it's a bad idea. There has to be accountability.
Right. Now that sounds very familiar, when we have been discussing with a lot of investors and we have been doing some surveys as well. I think a common frustration is that, opacity. They don't know what's happening.
They don't know what's happening. Things are getting
how much
delayed.
money is going as fees and, other things. So, Ankur bhai, what do you think about, managing advisory business? What do you think? Do you think that, trust is important, or how do we create it with the investors?
I think, Sandeep, trust and transparency goes hand to hand. See, any business or professional services which you are referring to, trust is something which was not built overnight. It's been almost 20 years. I came to Dubai in 2002. I still have that phone which I took, even after taking, moving to Singapore. So what here I'm trying to explain is that when we are living in a dynamic world where the views changes, people changes, and when you have a vision to deliver and achieve with things with a purpose, honesty is the key. We understand that Lame, for example, people sometimes get, a shock that why you don't charge any fees. I said that's the principle when I've decided to start my Lame Capital. I want to make sure this is a journey which we have to sail it together, irrespective of the headwinds. First, I'll make sure that I deliver what I communicate. So it's not something you can build overnight. It's a journey. Every day we talk, we every day share our view, and we achieve what we have been communicated. Day one, we start the relationship, which Jasna has rightly mentioned. It's a long-term journey, you know. Trust and transparency goes hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Akbar. So the next topic, and the point that I want to touch upon is very relevant today. It's about UAE-India corridor. Both the governments are working very actively on creating opportunities, and there is a lot of impetus on women entrepreneurs leveraging those opportunities in that region between UAE and India. So my question is, why is now a special moment for women to harness business and investment opportunities between India and the UAE? May I invite Ankur Bhai to respond first, and I'll go to the other participants.
Sandeep, if you talk about India, UAE as a corridor, I come from international banking and dealing with, clientele, those who are based in India and internationally. So it's all about, sharing the product platform. And if you see recently, the Gift City has been the route for the investment outside India and inside India. So currently, if you go by the statistics in the last 6 to 9 months, there are a lot of, Indian institution has set up the offices in DIFC. So the information is the key, and timing, of course, matters. So when we talk about guiding and explaining women investment advice, so this plays a very, very important role, because if you talk about India has a growth story, no doubt about that. You want to take a long-term exposure, yes, go into that investment. But if you are looking for tactical asset allocation, come to DIFC, enjoy, international platform. So there are a lot of synergies which has been developed recently because of India-UAE corridor, and I think women investors are enjoying that journey.
Thank you, Ankur Bhai. Biduji, do you want to add something to?
Actually, Angurji told it very correctly. Apart from that, I just wanted to add this only. The bilateral relations between India and UAE is flying ever high. And it has been cemented by the SEPA, like a comprehensive economic partnership agreements. And this has opened a plethora of opportunities for women. If you look at, there is the Bharat Mart, and this has been initiated in the Jabalali Free Zone. And there is a launch pad. Actually, this launch pad is for the products coming from the women entrepreneurs. So that's a very encouraging fact. Which other era we can witness like now, wherein which both the countries are having so much of agreements in place, understanding, and also this government who is ready to accept and encourage women entrepreneurs by giving the startup opportunities. India UAE startup is also there. So all these opportunities have given us enough of opportunities for the women to come and harness and to make and achieve their dream. Apart from this, one point I wanted to add is that the woman-inspired sustainable empowerment, which is being done by us, I mean me and Ankuratri, like Lama Capital Support, wherein which we give that platform for the women from UAE and India to come and to have the networking, to listen to the industry leaders. We put from both the countries actually stalwarts from whom they can learn so much of wisdom and allow and then help them to have the cross-border chances, access to markets, access to capital, everything. And Lama Capital chairman is so much helpful by giving them access for the financial literacy, which is the most important element for any woman who think about it.
Thank you, Binduji. Neelam, I know that you do a lot of work cross-border, wealth solutions. What would you say on this?
To me, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. I think India is a growth story we all are talking on a daily basis. I think the coffee table discussion is what next to invest, where to invest, and it's all about India. In the international markets, we speak to fund managers, they talk about India, and the allocation is only growing. I think with the change and the upgrade of the Indian economy by the rating agencies last week, you will see a lot more allocation internationally going into India. Having said that, UAE is not far behind. I think it's a global hub. It has all the right elements for anyone to set up businesses. And I think the government of the UAE is also encouraging a lot of people to come in and set up offices. So if you see, about 10 years ago, we had only about 40, 45 family offices. Today you see 300 Indian family offices move here. That's a big number. And if you see, most of these family offices are now women-run. I won't say 100%, but yeah, almost 40 to 45% of these family offices are run by women, which means that women are also wanting to make that transition, come in and set up businesses here. There's a lot of promotion happening for women to set up enterprises here. There are free zones which are supporting women companies today by offering better pricing. What else can you ask for? So a lot of Indian women that I know of, a lot of clients, a lot of companies which are existent in India would want to set up an office here are actually doing so.
Wonderful.
So I think it's a golden era, and one should make sure that they don't lose on time and value the connection, value the camaraderie that we carry as two nations, and explore.
No, certainly, I think, to sum up clearly, women entrepreneurs, this is a moment not to watch from the sidelines. It is to step in and take that opportunity.
I think there is a lot of women who are taking plunges now. The fear factor, like I said, for women to take that step forward. I come from that generation wherein women were supposed to take a back seat and not work, because families used to say, oh, you will go as a girl child of mine to work. No, it doesn't work anymore that way. Younger kids are now taking that plunge. They are actually setting up businesses right in India and not fearful of expanding overseas.
No, certainly. I think I've been waved upon, and I know that, we are running late. So I'll close with the last question, which is a quick question to all of you. What is one myth about women and wealth you wish to bust? And what is the reality? When you talk about myth, you bust it. What is the reality? I can go in any order. Binduji, you first.
Okay. One myth which existing, I believe, like a woman is risk averse. No. Woman is risk aware. And I can say that there is no such myth also, because actually speaking, the first text of law is Manusmriti. There it is written about woman, Karyeshu Mandri. That means I come from a matriarchal society, wherein which the woman was taking decisions. Woman is like a minister. Woman advice. So I think already that myth never exists for me, and it is busted if it is.
Great. Thank you. Neeraj, very quick one.
I think I spoke about a myth which was busted some time back, which was panicking. I think people think that women are very cautious about money management. They're scared of money. No, I don't think so. It's no longer true. Women love numbers. I think a lot of women are coming forward, and that's how the numbers are changing in terms of managing family offices or businesses today. So I think the myth that women are very cautious, or they panic, or they don't like numbers is no longer true.
I think everybody would agree. A lot of discussions have already happened where a lot of data shared that no woman is scared to take decisions, Ankur bhai.
I think, I've been advising many women billionaires, and it has been, observed that women are very emotion-driven decision maker. And I think that's a myth. I'll share a short story, one of my Malaysian billionaire client, and this is an ongoing thing with many clients. The reality is the women are very, very detail-oriented. They are systematic, they work with a purpose, but they only look for a trusted partner. So I think if you do things right, they are meticulous, take one step at a time, but they know what they want. I hope everyone agree, every home is run by a woman, and I have shared this in my speech that I have 3 women in my home, so I know what they bring in. Thank you so much.
For sure. And last but not the least, Jasna ji, what is your view about it?
At the cost of being repetitive, I do think that they are risk aware and not risk averse. I think we ask the difficult questions. I think women-led ventures last longer, and we balance boldness with the right amount of diligence. So,
well, thank you
Can
very
I
much.
add a quick one here?
Please.
So during a lot of meetings that I deal with men, and a lot of times when you say, so what's your decision? The only answer that I get is, let me check with my wife to come back. So that's another myth, that decisions are made by men.
Well said.
It's not. I think it's a collective decision, or more so a woman's decision.
All the men in the room would agree to that. You know, they are the Ministry of Home Affairs does decide eventually. So it's a big myth. So with that, you know, I would thank all the participants and close the panel here. I hope we touched upon some sensitive topics, we busted some myths, and a lot of reality checks. I hope you all would have gotten some pearls of wisdom from our veterans here. And we'll continue the dialogue. We are all here. Reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. Thank you, Ankur ji. Thank you, Bindu ji, Rashna ji, and Neelam ji. Thank you so much. And now, let's talk about someone's very special. From a conversation with a leader on screen to one off it. Her voice is as powerful as her conviction. She is a versatile singer and a powerhouse performer, and with her soulful voice, the creative genius. I'm talking about Sona Mahapatra. Has captivated audiences with her work across genres, from classical music to contemporary Bollywood soundtracks and fusion. She has composed music and written lyrics too, exhibiting her skills as a multifaceted artist. And her documentary, Shut Up Sona, is an eye-opener on how difficult women find just being a woman, and how it takes one voice at a time to challenge status quo. Before inviting her on stage, I would like to show something as an AV. Can we play the AV, please? Now I would like to invite the voice of courage and change, Sona Mahapatra, to join us on stage for the ultimate fireside conversation with my colleague, Samia Kapoor. Can we have Sona on stage, please? And my colleague, Samia Kapoor. Samia, I can't see you. Playing hide and seek. Can I have you over here? There you are.
And now let's recognize and honor women in leadership positions who have demonstrated exceptional acumen and strategic vision that has transformed their industries. The News9 Global Summit UAE edition presents the inaugural edition of the SHEStar Awards, getting partners with Tola and Carrot as we celebrate the achievements, resilience and determination of women who have broken barriers and inspired others through their work. Let me invite on stage once again, Managing Director and CEO of TV9 Network, Mr. Barun Das, to kindly come on stage. And I would also request Mr. Sandeep Sharma to join. I beg your pardon? I would request Sandeep Sharma and Ankur Atre to come on stage to present the next set of awards. The MD and CEO of La Mer Capital. The SHEStar Awards Award for Women-Led Development goes to Ajeta Shah. I would request Ms. Shah to come on stage right now. She is a proof that one woman's vision can put bread on the table for thousands of lives. As the founder of Frontier Markets, Ajeta Shah has dedicated her career to empowering rural women to become entrepreneurs. She has enabled over 1 million households in India by building an ecosystem of opportunities where women earn, families thrive, and communities transform. The SHEStar Award for Women-Led Development goes to Ajeta Shah. She has enabled over 1 million households in India by building an ecosystem of opportunity where women earn, families thrive, and communities transform. Recognized globally as a trailblazer. Thank you so much, Ms. Sandeep Sharma. I request Mr. Ankur Asri to continue to stay with us to present the rest of the awards. Our next award, ladies and gentlemen, is the SHEStar Award for Financial Inclusion. And Chetna Gala Sinha, I'd request Ms. Chetna Gala Sinha to come on stage. She calls herself the banker to the poorest of the poor, and in that humility lies her extraordinary strength. And I'd request Mr. Salem Khamas, the eminent Emirati businessman and social media star and influencer, to join Mr. Ankur Asri to present the next award to Chetna Gala Sinha. The SHEStar Award for Financial Inclusion goes to Chetna Gala Sinha. Chetna Gala Sinha founded the Mandeshi Mahila Bank, India's first rural women's bank, run entirely by and for women. For decades, she has been championing financial literacy, inclusion, and empowerment for women who were once denied the rights to even hold an account. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Chetna Gala Sinha, the SHEStar Award for Financial Inclusion. I request Mr. Salim Khamas and Mr. Ankur Asri to continue to stay with us on the stage as we present the SHEStar Award for Artificial Economy. Ms. Lavanya Nali is who we would invite on stage right now. Ms. Lavanya Nali, kindly put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for the SHEStar Award for Artificial Economy. She carries forward the legacy woven in silk, but her own thread is one of reinvention and resilience. As vice chairperson of the iconic Nali Group, Lavanya Nali has transformed the century-old brand into a modern global enterprise by staying rooted in heritage. The SHEStar Award for Artificial Economy goes to Lavanya Nali. I would request you to kindly stay with us as we have a few more awards to give away. I would request Dr. Jean to kindly come on stage. Dr. Jean Shahadatpuri, kindly come on stage for our next awards that we are giving out right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the next SHEStar Award for Social Impact goes to Shafina Yusuf Ali. She's left, is it? All right, we'll try and move on to our next category of award, which is the SHEStar Award for Legal Excellence. Please put your hands together for Advocate Bindu S. Chettur. The SHEStar Award for Legal Excellence. She is a fierce advocate for justice and pioneering voice in the legal fraternity. And as a founder and managing director of Chanakyatse Consultancy, Advocate Bindu S. Chettur has combined legal expertise with strategic advisories, guiding businesses and individuals through complex challenges. The SHEStar Award for Legal Excellence goes to Advocate Bindu S. Chettur. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ankur Atre, and also Mr. Salim Thomas for joining me here as we present the awards for SHEStar Achievers. And I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us through the evening as we heard several interesting stories about their journeys, about the ways they've managed to win small and big battles. I beg your pardon, ladies and gentlemen, kindly stay with us, kindly bear with us. There is one more award for the evening, and the evening wouldn't have been complete without Miss Naila Al-Balushi. Ladies and gentlemen, the SHEStar Award for Mountaineering goes to Naila Al-Balushi. She is a woman of many firsts, each one carved against the might of world's tallest peaks. Naila is the first Emirati woman to scale Mount Everest, an achievement placed her name in the annals of mountaineering history. Ms. Naila Al-Balushi, I request you to kindly come on stage to accept the SHEStar Award for Mountaineering. Please put your hands together for Naila Al-Balushi. For her, climbing is not just about conquering mountains, it's about inspiring others to conquer their fears, their doubts, their limits, with resilience, courage, and a spirit as indomitable as the peaks she climbed. She has become a role model for adventurers across Arab world, for proving that no summit is beyond reach. The SHEStar Award, ladies and gentlemen, for mountaineering goes to Naila Al-Balushi. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us for this News9 Global Summit UAE edition, the SHEconomy Summit here in Abu Dhabi. I request you all, winners and awardees, to kindly stay with us. As we are going to be presenting the cocktails and dinner that is available, please join us for dinner here as we close in on the SHEconomy Summit for News9 Global Summit UAE edition.